it's time, my friends, to gather every one of your semi-deficient friends and to remember never to listen to what old white men tell you, and also to not forget your ruby or silver slippers, because this week we are going to explore the Wizard of Oz. My name is Mick.
And I'm Morgan, and we are here to bring you home, babies, and there is no place like it.
Aww, I get it, because that's a quote from the movie.
What movie?
Never mind. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Beauty and the Bitch. Morgie, so I heard a little birdie told me that you spent the entire week shitting yourself instead of getting ready for this podcast.
I can't believe you would even bring that up.
I'm bringing it up. I'm calling you out.
It is not an untruth that perhaps I became less prepared for this particular podcast than I am for other podcasts. But let me tell you a little something, girl. We are talking about the Wizard of Oz this week. And if I don't know the Wizard of Oz like my back fucking hand, I don't know what the world is about, because I have seen this movie 7 million times.
Yeah. Did you watch it as a kid?
Yes, I was obsessed. And, of course, I read the book. I did not read the entire series. But I was a big fan of the first book and read it many times. And girl, you just get busy. I mean, you gotta back me up here. Life is hard when you're trying to like have a passion project, but also like you have to do a real job to get money. What?
Well, you know what? Normally I would be much shittier to you, but actually, I think something a lot of people don't know about you is that, you know, you have that disease that covers your entire body in hair. And it is like so difficult just to brush out all of the tangled, matted hair. Let's just talk about, like, on your back alone.
Okay, and I know that you're just joking right now, but the real truth of my life in the past 2 weeks is that and I don't know if I texted you this and you're just being hateful, but I suddenly have a mustache and, like,
We talked about this in the last episode.
Well, I'm still dealing with it. And I think on the last episode, I probably said that, like, I'm just gonna, like, live with a mustache. No, girl, I couldn't do it. I probably went home immediately, and I got out Aaron's little mustache trimmers. Not, like, buzzers, but, like, he has, like, these tiny scissors that he, like, you know, like, levels his mustache with because he's real anal. And, like, I made those Morgan's mustache trimmers, and I took them to my face, and I never felt better about myself. So, ladies, if you have unexpected mustache growth, which apparently when you turn 28, you do, you just, girl, you just give a little trim.
So, did you trim them all the way down to, like, is it like shaving that level, or is it just like you trimmed, just took a little bit of the length off of their legs?
I just took a little bit of the length off.
Okay. I can't see anything right now, and I'm looking hard.
Now you have to get real close to see it. Okay. So, like, I'm in a much better place than I was last time. So, but I've been recuperating from that this week, and so, yeah, life's just been busy. I mean, we're ramping up. Mickey and I are going on vacation in T-minus 2 weeks. So excited. Like, I'm living for it. But, like, I've been devoting a little time to, like, planning for that because, you know, I'm a big planner. And I just been busy. So, yeah, I'm not the best podcast host this week. But don't fret, because I did get a lot of new information together and I have a ton of shit to ask you about.
So what I've decided is, since one, you didn't prepare at all and you're horrible and rotten,
Truth.
And two, you are, after all, a woman, and as we know, women inferior, less intelligent, etc.
It's just facts?
It's biology. It's biology.
Is it alternative facts?
I say alternative facts are facts.
Oh, you would. You old Kellyanne Conway motherfucker.
Oh, that's misogynistic. See? We're all problematic. Now
I can't hear you. I have to go do the dishes right now.
Okay, fair enough. Also, please make me fresh coffee.
Duh, of course.
I forget what stupid bullshit thing we were talking about. And you know what? I actually... I mean, that's life, right? I could say that at any point in our lives, and
it's always synonymous with the conversation.
Yeah. I did do a ton of research on this, but to me, this kind of reminds me of like Stardust, right? We both love Stardust, but it's something that I'm like really into. And like when we eventually do the Star Wars episodes, it's going to be flipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think even I think you actually like Harry Potter more than me.
Oh, I'm sure that I
think
do.
you do. You are like
think
such.
that I do.
I love Harry Potter, but you are like a mega fan.
Yeah, I love it.
So wait, that's natural. We switch off on like we're like I'm into that, but it's not my passion.
Oh, we can't have like equal love about like everything.
Because then we would both love me.
Yeah, then we would, but we don't. So don't confuse it.
No, you don't love me anywhere near the level I love myself.
Love it. It's good to be like selfish, but like you certainly take it to a whole new level.
I mean, you know what? I got one life to live, baby. The world's turning and General Hospital.
Yeah, soap operas. Speaking of soap operas, my great grandmother, Christine Moody, she was the first person who gave me the movie The Wizard of Oz.
Aww.
We would go to her house like every now and then for her to like babysit us, and like she lived close to our elementary school, so like I don't know, we would go there like whenever. And she had just like a bunch of VHS tapes that we were kind of like allowed to use. We weren't allowed to look at the ones that she had recorded her soaps on because she was a big fan of soaps. I mean, like all day that was her jam, just like recording soaps. They didn't have DVR back then, so she had to like record like little blank ass VHS tapes and then go back and watch it if she had to miss it for something. So we weren't allowed to touch that basket. That was a separate basket of tapes. But we had one little basket that was all our own, and the movies I can remember being in it were Mary Poppins, We're Back, the dinosaur movie that we briefly mentioned.
We're gonna do an episode on that. We have to.
And The Wizard of Oz. Like, I'm sure there were other ones, but those are the three that, like, I watched kind of on repeat for a long time. And The Wizard of Oz one, it was like an anniversary edition. Like, I can't remember. Well, I don't know what anniversary they're on, like a fuck ton right now. And, so it was like a 50th anniversary or something. And it had a little square, like a sticker in the middle. And it had a picture of the ruby slippers, like Dorothy just from shins down, and the like green hands of the Wicked Witch, like coming in to grab them.
I know I can see it. Yeah.
It was mesmerizing. And I have the VHS tape still, like it's in my house. I don't have the like case it was in. Somehow I lost it as a child because children are stupid.
And dirty.
Yes, of course. But I still have it, and like, that is how I found The Wizard of Oz. Like, I don't know, like, what was your introduction? Did you find the book first, or like what?
Well, can I just say, first of all, that I'm really shocked because I would have thought that you know, growing up in the circus alone and unloved as you did, would have felt a kinship with the Flying Monkeys. And that's why, because I didn't think it was coincidence that you grew up to look exactly like a flying monkey.
Yes. I see what you are saying.
Yes.
And I'm trying to find a more hideous character to say, oh yeah, you're the grumpy trees that throw apples. That's
okay, girl, because
you old crab apple ass,
fine.
grumpy motherfucker, wanting to be alone in the forest, don't want no humans.
Those trees aren't alone. They got friends all around them.
Not trying to share no food with nobody.
That's my food. That grew right off my body. I don't know who you think you are. Would you walk up to a person and pluck a hair out of their head and say, yum, 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 hair?
If I was hungry and their hair was tasty.
Get out of my forest.
Anyway.
Okay. Random bullshit, right? How did I come to... Wizard of Oz was, as a very young child, like I would say 7 and under, was probably my favorite movie.
Yeah, easily.
I think Wizard of Oz and Neverending Story were my two that were in rotation.
I was a fan of Neverending Story, but like... It didn't, I think I didn't see it at the right moment for it to be like the coolest fantasy thing that I ever saw. So like I loved it, but not as much as some other stuff. But yeah, I hear you.
There are like deep, I mean, from both of these movies, there are like deep rhythmic ways that just the actors said lines that like they're just like deep in my psyche, you know? So these were formative movies for me. What's really interesting about The Wizard of Oz specifically is that my whole family loves it.
Yeah.
My favorite aunt.
Universally, like, it's one of those kind of things that, like, your grandma doesn't hate it. Right?
Yeah,
like you and your grandma agree that it's good.
Exactly. And so my grandma loved it. Even my grandpa was into it. My aunts both liked it. My mom, everybody. But my grandma's favorite character was always the Tin Man, which I think is like I wouldn't have seen it, you know, but it's so sweet because my whole family is about like love and the power of the heart. And like, that's a big like theme of family for me. As you know, and I think my family is also very aware that love is rocky. Just like, you know, the Tin Man has a lot of problems with his heart or lack thereof. And like, I also appreciated that my grandma's favorite character was like pretty feminine and legit had
Tin
blue
Man
eyeshadow.
AF.
Exactly. Yeah. Tin Man, Cowardly Lion were for bibbidi bopping down the yellow brick. You know what I mean?
They were yellow brick road.
They sure were. It's bumpy. So, and that was very special to me. Like, I grew up surrounded by, cause you know there's 1,000 different pieces of merch connected to the Wizard of Oz. Because it became free domain in like the 1950s, right?
It's everywhere.
So in addition to all the like actual stuff, there's all this bootleg bullshit. So I grew up surrounded by like figurines.
Bootleg bullshit?
Bootleg bullshit. And that made me the upstanding citizen.
That is so Arkansas of you.
Like 1,000 different Tin Man ornaments.
Bootleg bullshit can be the name of your memoir.
Oh my God, I love it.
It's actually really good.
And you know what? It's going to be, my grandma used to make these, tin men out of old tin cans. It was so cute. I just recently got rid of mine because I was like, it's too hard to move. Like I can't, it's hard to transport. It was, yeah. Cause his leg was like 3 tin cans long. And his arms were like
I don't think I know this. Did you have it in your room in high school or?
It was, yeah, but you know.
There were so many things in there.
There was a lot of cool stuff in there.
Because you're a mini hoarder in high school.
I was a mini hoarder.
Books,
yes,
mostly.
Primarily books. I'm still a hoarder of books, yeah. I just have more space now. That's
I
have
guess
the same amount of
you
stuff, but
distribute
just
it
more
evenly.
space.
Yeah, that helps.
But anyway, so yeah, I grew up loving The Wizard of Oz. And primarily when it came on TV, I think as a small child, I don't think we had... I think my aunt had one, but I don't think I had one. So we would like gather around the television when it came on.
And it used to be on, I didn't write this down, but I read like some like statistic that like between like 1950 and like 1990, it played on like major channels like once a week, like every week or something. Like it's like a really big part of like cultural zeitgeist from like the 1930s on. Like it's been very important for a very long time.
Well, and I feel like it became... they would play it around November for sure, like around Thanksgiving. I'm sure I know they played it other times too, but every year it came on like, I forget now, maybe like the night before Thanksgiving or something. And like that became like a tradition for my family.
I wonder if some channel still does that because you know like TNT, or maybe you don't know, but every year they play A Christmas Story. Like they do like a marathon of it.
That's another one that has become like...
And like I've seen that a billion times too, just like with family stuff. I wish that we had watched Wizard of Oz at like Thanksgiving or something. We always watch like fucking baseball or some bullshit because like my family likes sports, but like...
My grandpa, he loved all those sports, yeah. But so Grandpa would sit in the living room and...
like grandpas do.
Like grandpas do. And we'd come in and like talk to him and stuff, but mostly it was the kitchen was where it was at.
Oh, yeah, girl, that's where the food is.
Yeah, and then Wizard of Oz we would do later. Like after dinner or something. Yeah, I love that.
That's cute.
Well, it is. Yeah, I think cute
that's
family.
Really sweet.
Why do you think that The Wizard of Oz has stayed so relevant and current? Why has it become a classic, do you think?
That is, before I answer that question, let me lead into
that. What? That question?
I can't believe you would just like
I call you out like that.
You can bring it up like right now.
You know, I was listening to a recent episode.
Did I say a stupid word? That's like a hallmark of me.
0%. You were perfect, but I just realized I really am an asshole. I'm just so mean to you. But you just take it. And you give it back. Don't get twisted.
So
don't get twisted.
What you're saying is you're the bitch of the podcast?
I don't think that word left my mouth.
I really think that's what you were like leaning. I'm
a classic beauty.
Lean into it.
What were you saying, Morgan?
Okay, so it is indeed a classic, universally, and still very present in the minds and like hearts of people. And I just pulled some ratings. Let's just talk about some like ratings and some facts and stuff before we discuss like why do people still love it. So on Goodreads, the book has a 3.98 out of 5, which I actually thought was kind of a low rating compared to how well the movie was received.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the instances where people prefer the movie to the book. You know what I mean? We talked about that a little bit before.
Which I think is Well, yeah, and we can talk about why. But I
Sure.
for the record, for everyone who's curious what I think, I agree. I think the movie's better than the book.
Yes. Well, and the movie is oftentimes people see it before they read the book because it's just one of those things on TV and like everyone loves it. And it's a thing that people want to show to their kids. Like when I think about like the shit that I want to show my children in the future, like it's definitely on the list. Like introduce it to them like as soon as possible.
Early.
Yeah, real early. Because it's so like technicolor and mesmerizing that like you can enjoy it at a young age, whereas like you may need to be a little older to kind of read through the books, and then especially if you want to like do the whole series. So 3.98 out of 5. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie got a 99%.
Oh, shit.
Girl.
This is the first thing we've reviewed so far.
It's the highest rated thing we've reviewed as far as Rotten Tomatoes.
And that's probably the highest it goes. No one gets 100%. I think.
Challenge accepted. I'm going to Google that. We're going to do something that gets 100%.
Ooh,
yeah.
ooh.
IMDb, it got an 8.1 out of 10. So like a B minus, which, you know, I guess the IMDb critics got a little harsher with it, but that's fine.
It's like a classic of American film, but that's fine. Whatever.
Mickey, do you know when the book was first published?
It was first published in 1902. Is that right?
No.
Oh, shit. No.
May 17th, 1900.
I was so close. I was 2 years off.
But can you... 1900.
I know.
What?
I know. And, you know, I own the series. Well, the ones that Frank L. Baum wrote.
Yeah.
L. Frank Baum. And Frank L. Baum.
Frankelbaum.
That's Lisa Frank's like cousin.
The way that I remember it is because Elphaba is like an iteration of L. Frank Baum.
Oh, is that really why she's named Elphaba?
Yes.
Oh my god, blow my mind. This ain't even a Wicked podcast.
Oh, my girl, we'll talk about that later.
But they don't feel like they
dated.
Not at all. Like they were published.
It's because
117 years ago.
It's because the themes in the book we go through, we're cycles. We're just a cyclical culture, and everything is prescient, and like it's just everything that was going on then, it's going on now, just in a different way.
Yeah.
So it's all like, you know, it's all surface. So, okay, so 1900, and then
my mind.
It became a Broadway musical in 1902, which got the attention of like movie studios, of course. And so MGM won the rights for the movie, and the movie that we all know and love today. There have been many iterations of it, but the original beautiful Judy Garland version was released on August 25th, 1939. So 39 years after the book came out, which is a pretty big gap, but they needed some time to get technology up to par to like endeavor on this movie.
Well, and in that time, I mean, probably Baum published his entire 20 original, right?
Yeah.
By the time the movie came out, there were at least 20 in the series.
I don't know if they were all out, but definitely he started
close, because he was a very prolific and quick writer.
Yeah, he was. And I mean, frankly, they're not very long books, so.
No.
Yeah. No. Do you have an idea of what a production budget might be for a movie in 1939?
Ooh.
Of this, and this is a very high cost
it was an
production.
MGM classic. It was also a year in which MGM put out a bunch of other really important films.
It came out the same year as Gone with the Wind, which is a very high budget film.
Oh, yeah. Gone with the Wind, for sure. Also, Wuthering Heights, Of Mice and Men, Stagecoach. Have you ever seen that Western?
I have not.
I saw it in a film class. I don't watch a lot of Westerns, but it's like it's a very important movie for like that genre. Gunga Din and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. All came out the same year as Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz. Yes. But to answer your question, I would guess 8 million. No, 1.2 million.
So, yeah, closer with that second guess. It was $2,777,000. So almost $3 million, which is a huge budget for 1939.
Especially if you think MGM was also doing Gone with the Wind, like mega expensive movie.
Also, $3 million is like, you couldn't even pay Scarlett Johansson to do a 30-minute spot in a movie for that amount of money.
No, I texted her. I was like, I got $3 million. She
what
was
up,
like, don't talk to me. Yeah.
So almost $3 million. And then their box office worldwide, because they did a re-release. This is with like a re-release. Do you have a guess as what they made?
When was the re-release? What year?
I didn't write it down.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you happen to know if it was like long after or?
I think it was many years after.
I'm going to guess, geez. Like $28 million.
$33 million. So they lost money on the movie. When it came out, it was not the roaring success that they had hoped that it would be, and they lost money, which is crazy to think about now because it's such a classic, and of course, obviously they made money when they did a re-release later, but because it came out that same year as Gone with the Wind, which is like, when you adjust for inflation, I think Gone with the Wind is like the highest grossing movie of all time. Like, adjusted for inflation.
And it snatched most of the Oscars.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
it won all
like,
the Oscars.
I think Wizard of Oz got Oscars for Over the Rainbow, Best Original Song.
Which they almost cut.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my God, we have to get into that.
Yeah.
That's great. And they won an Oscar for Original Music, or like the general music, all of the instrumental music, and then something else. Maybe Judy Garland won something, actually? Like Best, Supporting Actress?
I don't think she did. Because I think when I was reading about her, she didn't win anything till later in her career.
I know they got those two music
I think she
ones,
probably
but they got
nominated.
a third. They got a third something else.
But maybe she did. I don't know. But that's crazy that they lost money. It was just a big year for movies, and MGM, I think, notoriously didn't spend their money well, kind of in that time period. They did a lot of stuff I was reading about later, like other movies that they had cast Judy Garland in. Like, often they were replacing actors and actresses kind of like halfway through production. So they almost had to start over a lot. Like, they don't really do that anymore. Like, they would cast a girl and then, oops, she got pregnant halfway through. Well, let's get rid of her and start over. And the girl, now they just put a basketball in front of your belly. They don't give a shit. Give you a big Prada purse.
What was that movie that Heath Ledger was in and he died? An Imaginarium?
Of Dr. Parnassus.
Yes. And they were just like, well, one, it was heartbreaking because everyone loves him.
And also that movie was terrible, which is sad because it's his last movie.
That is sad.
But yeah, they just
brought in, they were like, we're just going to do it
Jude Law
actors
and Johnny
change.
Depp.
Yeah, they were not having that. No, they were going to use that footage.
They very much, The Wizard of Oz, that movie with the many faces of Oz. They were like, who gives a shit? He's just whoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so those are some facts and figures.
You know, Morgie, I'm not shocked that I'm not actually shocked that it didn't make money when it first came out, only because I was watching this documentary about Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
And the way, because I have, now see, this time, unlike Lord of the Rings, I've got the special edition, which is a whole extra disc. Yeah, girl. I've got my homosexual card. That's how I got it. But they were talking about it being a cult classic, but it's a cult that everyone's in. You know, it's like, it is a cult classic, but all of America is in the cult. And it's weird how it seems to paradoxically be both that cults, unknown, very special thing that people don't talk about that much. But on the other hand, it airs all the time on TV and everyone has a Wizard of Oz memory. It somehow straddles those two.
Yeah, I think you'd probably be hard pressed to find a person that was knows nothing about the Wizard of Oz or has at least seen,
and when we do find them, I want to crunch them back under the rock they came from.
Yeah,
I have no time for you.
You crunch them.
You don't know what a munchkin is? Get out!
Whoa.
Take your condoms.
So a really interesting thing about the Wizard of Oz that I learned that was new information is that generally it is considered America's first and greatest fairy tale. And I was kind of confused about well, what does that mean? What signifies that? And kind of the deciding factor is that it has American identifiers and markers. For example, Dorothy is from Kansas. Kansas is very much a part of the story. And so that sort of marker and the idea of tornadoes, tornadoes are not a big part of devastating natural disasters around the world. It doesn't happen everywhere, of course we don't get tropical or typhoons or whatever they get in Asia. We don't suffer through that sort of thing, but the Midwest and America is famous for tornadoes. And so those kind of things identify it as American problems and American logistics, and it's an American story. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree with that. I think it does feel, well, for example, the Scarecrow from the cornfields.
Yes,
right?
he's synonymous with, like, in the 1900s, that was a thing that people were familiar with. Farmers. Like, that's the kind of, like, life they identified with.
But then you also have, like, the Tin Man, who's, like, industry, and, like, also, like, what's it called when you're a woodsman? What's that? Arborage or something? Is that a word? Arbor activities. Arbor Day means tree day, so I know something to do with trees. Anyway, but that was also like, it's very much like Americana to me, like Paul Bunyan, right? Like he's a similar like woodsman type figure. The only one that doesn't really make sense in this, I guess, is the lion.
So okay, so this kind of plays into this thing that I read about, which is political implications in the book and the story in general. And so, everything you just said, the way that like the Scarecrow represents like the farmer and like, the Tin Man, like he has like it's a profession.
Like industry.
And the lion is like, he represents like the common man's like courage and like how easy it is to like lose like power and like how you have to like sometimes like seek it out and like find it or whatever. And I read a lot about the yellow brick road.
The gold standard.
Representing
right?
the gold standard. And then, we're going to get more into this, but the slippers in the book are silver. And the silver slippers represent there was a big coalition of people who wanted to add a silver standard to our monetary system because they felt like the gold standard could crumble easily. And so there are moments in the story when there are divots in the road or there are gold bricks that are missing and the Tin Man would like stumble and fall. And Dorothy with her beautiful silver slippers would just like walk around it. And it's supposed to like represent the like balance that you can find when like if gold falls through, like you always have this like thing to fall back on and it's silver. So that's like, I never got, like, that didn't cross through my mind.
Well, I do have to tell you, so I did some research on that, like, populist kind of reading of, The Wizard of Oz, and I do think it's there, but I think it's there in the way that classics can be read.
Yeah.
You know what, I don't think it's like Chronicles of Narnia, in which...
It's not so in your face.
Exactly, and I don't necessarily think that Baum was like, I'm gonna write a book about this, and it's all gonna be allegory. I think you can read it in there, and it does work, and that's the life he was living. So certainly, obviously our surroundings play into the story, but like, there's a official Wizard of Oz website with a bunch, I'm sure it's run by a bunch of angry homosexuals, because all of these...
It's actually just Liza Minnelli.
Like I said, an angry homosexual. No. But all of these documentaries I was watching, these like... Wizard of Oz collector men, I was like, no thank you, ma'am.
They're
you need
super
to go
extra.
Home. Yeah, with like black turtlenecks, bleach blonde hair, and a face like Narcissa Malfoy.
Oh,
you know that like
stank face.
And there was one, he was talking about like a pamphlet or some shit, and you would have thought that it was like Nazi propaganda.
Oh shit.
The way he was talking about, he was so angry and his consonants were so hard. Everything was like this. And I was like, girl, it's not worth all that. You know? And
it was like a picture of Dorothy like holding Toto.
Yeah, it was like the most like innocent, sweet little thing, and he's like really going off about it. But to return to the question, Morgie, so do you think that one of the reasons it's become a classic
Oh my God.
right? Is because it is in some way definitively American, or like a slice of Americana?
I think it's definitively American, which helps. And then also I think it's really malleable to wherever you're at in your life, which we kind of already said, like, it's appropriate for everyone. Like, it's not inappropriate for like any age. And they tamper down a lot of the scary stuff in the movie. The book can be a little more frightening, I think, for children, but...
The movie scared me plenty when I was a kid.
It's like a little scary, but like nothing that like
I think,
it's not
girl, those trees are scary.
I guess so.
The witch
you
is
pussy
horrifying.
Ass kids. I was a really tough kid. I forget other kids like
she locks Dorothy in the tower and like all is lost, and Dorothy is like sobbing.
Yeah.
And then Aunt Em comes up. Aunt Em to me was scary. I was scared of Aunt Em.
Yeah.
Right? And then she turns into the Wicked Witch who's just laughing at you. No. Finished. I'm finished. Those flying monkeys are scary. I was afraid of Wizard of Oz.
So
his
maybe
scary
like,
flame face.
Maybe like 7 and on? 8 and 9. When's a good age?
No, I was scary, but I was scared, but I wanted to watch it. Yeah. No, I think very young. It's fine. Life is scary. You should be scared sometimes.
You should be. Actually, you should be. You really should be.
You should teach your children to be a little bit fearful.
If you live on the other side of the rainbow for your entire childhood, you're going to grow up to be a vanilla-ass Dorothy. Dorothy was a nobody until her ass got thrown over the other side of the rainbow.
Mm-hmm. And then she was somebody. She couldn't even protect her dog from Miss Gulch.
Oh,
fuck Miss Gulch.
Oh, fuck Miss Gulch.
Fuck. No, I like the Wicked Witch, but Miss Gulch, she's finished.
Fuck her.
Burnt.
So, all of those are great reasons why it has become an American classic.
Like, I'm very into that, like, enduring values, but I don't think we should forget, like, the innovation, too. Because, like, for example, the Technicolor.
It was ahead of its time.
It was the first time they had ever done a tornado special effect like that.
And
in
the movie.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think it's aged incredibly well to have been done in, what'd you say, 36 is when?
39.
39 to be have done.
They did a lot of experiments with like miniatures and like, I mean, not crazy experiments, but they like introduced that sort of like aspect of like storytelling, fantasy storytelling, which we have like come to like use so frequently and know and love. Of course, that's a big part of the Lord of the Rings is filming with miniatures. People often think that things in Lord of the Rings are CGI when like more often than not, it is giant, I mean, like, you know, mid-sized miniature castles and like cameras like sweeping through to like get all the like shots. So we learned a lot from like their kind of start into that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's funny, you know, because have you seen The Wiz, Morgie?
Oh, girl, yes.
I knew you had, but I was asking for
for the audience.
Yeah, especially.
Love it.
I think it's funny that The Wiz was done in like the 70s and the special effects are like no better.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no shade. I love The Wiz. Yeah. Please don't get me wrong. But like, they were really cutting edge effects. Very well done.
Yeah.
Very well done. Well, let me ask you though, speaking of like morals that The Wizard of Oz teaches, there is one moral that this movie teaches that I have to tell you pisses me the fuck off.
Tell me.
Glinda tells Dorothy that only bad witches are ugly.
Aww. Yeah, she does.
And I think, to me, that stands out as a really untrue, false, bad lesson. Well, I just think, as, you know, like, being very beautiful as we are, it's like, all I can have is sympathy. Like, I can't imagine what it's like.
It must be hard.
I think that's bad advice to give a child who is beautiful, even. Because
anyone.
if you go around judging people and thinking that because they're beautiful, they're good, and because they're evil, they're bad, or ugly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're fucked, girl.
Yeah.
Because some of the worst people I've met are gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know? And you, for example, you're mostly good and you're like the bottom of a foot.
Oh, I thought I was going to go the other way.
Oh, I was nice to you off air, so I can't do it on air.
This is bullshit. So I hear you on that little nugget of information that she dropped, but I actually made a top 5 list of my top 5 favorite themes that come through.
Oh, can we hear that? I want to hear what you have.
Okay, in no particular order. These are just the 5 themes that I love most. There's no place like home. I'll just name them and then we'll talk about them. Okay, so there's no place like home. The importance of courage, love, and intellect. Coming of age / the hero's journey. Female empowerment. And the power of trust. So to me, those are the top 5 things that sort of affected my childhood and like my formative years and continue to remind me are important things just in general in life when I revisit this story. So, okay, there's no place like home. That's such a big theme for The Wizard of Oz because, of course, Dorothy is spending the whole time just trying to get back home. When she was home, all she wanted to do was leave. So, like, it's kind of this, it's this conundrum that, like, you kind of always want what you don't have. And then like when you lose it, you recognize how powerful it was. And to me, we talk a lot about how like, you know, we don't live where we grew up anymore. And I don't visit very much for like whatever reasons that I have. And I love Arkansas and I love my family and like I love my home there. But to me, the idea of home is like this place that I have created for myself. And like truly there's no place like it. Like as long as you like bring the idea with you, like wouldn't it be miserable to live somewhere and all you did was think about wishing you lived back in that other place? Like, wouldn't that be terrible?
Yeah, that sounds wretched.
Yeah. And so like I feel like I've really created this like my new home. Like I've accepted I have this new home and it's my new place. And it's really, it's the best place in the world. And I love it here. And when I leave, I look forward to coming back.
Well, you know, I'm so glad that you've overcome your difficulties. I think that's one way that The Wizard of Oz is almost surprisingly adaptable, because if you think about 1900, right? That's when you said. Yep. People they couldn't travel as easily. So that idea of there's no place like home probably had a different meaning back then than it does for us now. Because I'm with you. To me, home is what you make it. Yeah. Essentially, right? But back in 1900, that's probably something,
home
that's
was
a
your
phrase
farm
they took
and
a very
you worked there
way.
all day.
Exactly. And like to get away from your home was very difficult.
It was,
you know, it wasn't easy to move around and you know.
So it's like, it's an interesting idea that has like evolved over time and is like malleable to like however you want to take it.
And that speaks to the timelessness, because that's like, you know, like Greek and Roman myths are like that. The morals of those myths, some of them don't make any sense today, but most of them do, because they're all adaptable, because they're very large universal things, you know? Okay, well, what was your second value?
The importance of courage, love, and intellect. So those are really, okay, so the place where children often get their moral compass is, frankly, from religion. And I was subjected to like, Christianity when I was a kid, like, of course, because my family is like largely Christian. Not like my father in particular, but like, you know, my grandma and like whatever, we went to church. And I loved church when I was a kid. And like, I vividly remember the time that I enjoyed it I remember the moment that I quit enjoying church and just decided it wasn't for me anymore. And that's great and fine. So one place that children get their morals is church. And then another place that children get their morals is from how they choose to consume other information and media. And for me, largely it was like books and like television and like stuff like that. And so there's all kinds of TV shows now geared towards like, you know, teaching your kids about sharing and like whatever. The Wizard of Oz for me was like a formative story where I learned that like courage, love, and intellect will like take you very far. And if you stray from those things, that it is a journey to get back to them, but that you have to. You have to.
I love too, you know, as opposed to something like Girls or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which are not going to be timeless the way The Wizard of Oz is, they're all very good friends to each other. Like, you know,
well, more or less in Girls.
Huh?
In Girls, they're good.
They're horrible. No, they're horrible to each other. No, that's what I'm saying though. Like, It's Always Sunny and Girls, they're like that like if you look at those relationships and try to model your relationships off of those, you're fucked. Yeah. But in The Wizard of Oz, I really feel like each of the three companions is genuinely, they love Dorothy, you know. I don't know how much they love each other. I guess that's kind of questionable, but they love Dorothy. Like, even when Dorothy gets captured by the flying monkeys, they get beat up. They literally like throw the Tin Man into the air and then drop him. And like the Scarecrow is like scattered all over this like horrible.
And the lion's like scared hiding behind a tree like he does.
Yeah. And the lion's just being useless. But they all rally and they like attack this giant fortress. And that's just one like dramatic example. But throughout it, like when the wizard gives a heart, you know, quote unquote, a heart and a mind and courage to the three companions, they're all happy and they're doing the thing. And then they say, but wait. What about Dorothy? You can't forget Dorothy. They're
like, our girl needs your help.
Yeah, and sweet Dorothy's like, oh, I don't think there's anything for me in there, my friends. And they're all like, no! That's not right!
That's
you know?
True.
Like, they're such good friends. I think that that's one of the reasons that it is so powerful, is because they're good people. They're all good people.
Yes, and it kind of gives you like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many things that you can choose to focus on when you're like coming of age, such as like appearance and like what do people think about you and that kind, you know, all the things that of course you're going to think about. But like if you can come back to the idea of like the things that like are truly powerful, I just feel like it's just a really good message. And so I love that. Okay, my third one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, my second one.
I am going to do that. I'm so sorry. Can we talk I think this is a good place. People who censor Oz. Can we talk about that here?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make it, because it's full of lovely values and still people find something wrong with it.
People just be haters.
They do. Haters be hating.
Yeah.
They be drinking
Haters
that
gonna
haterade.
hate. Yeah. All day. I don't really have anything else to say about that except they're fucking haters.
Well, didn't you were telling me about some kind of religious censorship?
Yes. So, I did read about like a specific, like, I'm sure there was like many religious oppositions, but specifically I read a story about in 1986, there were, 7 fundamentalist Christian.
Fundamentalist.
They like fondue.
Fundamentalist.
7 fundamentalist Christian families in Tennessee that opposed including The Wizard of Oz in the school syllabus because it would be on the reading list, of course, for like young children. They based their opposition to the novel on its depicting benevolent witches and promoting the belief that integral human attributes were individually developed rather than God-given. 'Cause of course you couldn't like figure things out for yourself. It has to be like granted to you by like the great God.
You know, I read about these stupid dick pigs who did this. It's not really the right use of that term, but, and you know, another
I wish
thing,
you would call like all fundamentalist people like dick pigs.
A lot of them are because they're repressed. Because you know, a dick pig is like,
yeah.
you know, a dick pig in like queer culture is like generally a gay man, though I'm sure there are exceptions, who is always about the dick. So like you show a picture of your grandpa and they're like, ooh, hot grandpa, and you're like, you dick pig, you're my grandpa, you know.
But grandpas were generally hotter back in the day, might I say.
They were. I mean, mine.
They don't make them like they used to.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and
gorgeous.
look at me now. I'm a lump of flesh.
I know I'll never be as pretty as my grandma was. It's like absurd. Like it's just the bar is set way
We're
too
lucky.
high.
We have good genes passed down to us.
I guess so.
No. And then we destroyed them with drugs and alcohol, but that's fine. Whatever. So these dick pigs, not only did they have a problem with that, they also didn't like the elevation of animals to like a human level.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, bitch? That is your problem in this sweet, lovely sort of narrative, is that the lion can fucking talk. You're a fool.
They also said, quote, I do not want my children seduced into godless supernaturalism. They didn't want their kids exposed to fantasy. Like, they had a problem with that.
But you know, Morgie, they weren't alone. In the 1930s through the 1950s, it was generally accepted knowledge that reading fantasy was bad for children.
Yes.
Not even neutral.
Yeah,
not even like
bad.
a waste of time, but actually bad. Like it rots your mind.
People felt that way a long time about comic books too. I mean,
absolutely.
later it was like the next wave of like shit you shouldn't let your kids
fucking
read.
shame. That's why so many baby boomers in our parents' generation, not our parents, but many of them are fucking fools.
Yes.
And why and we've got Donald fucking Trump in office right now, because when they were kids, their parents were like, no, don't read this stuff that, I'm sorry, I'm getting impassioned. But
Yeah,
you know,
no, I hear you, girl.
it's like, let children read what they want to read.
So the two other notable reasons that they didn't want the books in school, one, you just said they didn't like the animals are personified and can speak. And the second thing is that females get the idea that they are equal to men.
Oh, fuck those people.
Families didn't want their children to read
those people.
female empowered
That is so
novels.
horrible. And you know what? And that's bullshit, because Dorothy is a really strong female protagonist, and the main villainess is also a woman, but like, she's never, it's not like a polemical view. You know, she's just one of the member of Friends. She's important, and the story is hers, but like, they all play a part. It's not unfair to men. I don't think.
No, it's not unfair to men.
That's just bullshit.
No, that's just the fucking
bullshit.
patriarchy.
That's just patriarchy.
That's the mothers whose husbands beat them and said, you go tell the school that my daughter can't think that she's equal and remind her that her place is in the kitchen.
Yes. That's so upsetting to me, Morgan. Can you go get me a drink and a I just am a little hungry.
You would be.
Oh.
So thankfully the judge ruled not in their favor. At the end of the ruling, they were like, what you can do is have your dumbass children step out of the room when we're talking about this, which I'm pretty grateful for, actually. Like, I'm people like that should always lose.
Yeah.
But in Donald Trump's America, that's not what we're living in right now. So I'm glad to remember that we can get back to a time when women are valued.
Well, and you know what, Morgie? I mean, of course, this won't come out for weeks and weeks, so it's maybe dated. I'm sure
he's going to do some crazy shit in between. What's the date? May the 3rd and whatever day this comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to do something
Probably this episode will never air because we're all going to be dead. But so far, I feel like women primarily, but also people of all sorts, showing up in the streets and protesting have had an effect. And I feel like checks and balances have had an effect. You know what I mean? Like, judges, federal courts have called him out on a lot of his bullshit.
Yeah.
And the legislature,
sometimes,
though not perfect, is sometimes, not all the time.
Not
but
always.
It's not like he has free
small
reign.
wins.
Yes, exactly. And he's got very little done of his evil, hateful plan. So,
but though he still talks like he's gotten lots of things done.
Yeah, but that's bullshit.
He's fucking batshit. I don't even know what's going on.
Well, anyway, enough of that. He's
Okay.
horrible. Let's go back to fantasy, please.
Okay, so number 3, coming of age / the hero's journey. So, did you know, were you shocked as I was to learn that Judy Garland was 16 years old when she filmed this movie?
She
does not look 16.
And she doesn't, I mean, she's great.
Yeah, acting-wise, she's great. But also, like,
her voice is stellar.
She doesn't look 16, which is interesting because today we have the opposite problems. We get like 30-year-olds to play 16-year-olds and they don't look 16, they look 30 or 20. And we just accept that. So I was really surprised to learn how young she was. And then she does this weird anti-aging thing where she looks exactly the same throughout her career. She died in her like mid-40s. She never changed. She looked the same the entire time. She looked a little haggard because of drug use later.
I was going to say, near the end, she starts to look
but essentially the same. Crazy. So,
she's a witch.
Yeah, she's a witch. For sure. Because she's a woman. Burn her.
Very small rocks.
Churches. So, Dorothy, of course, is the protagonist that represents this coming of age story. And we follow her journey. And it kind of ties into the next theme, which is female empowerment, but it's the same thought that like a young person goes on a journey to find their self, only to find that they didn't have to go very far and like they had it inside them the whole time. And I feel like adolescence is just like one giant journey that like, frankly, we're all still on. I mean, we're not even 30 yet. And like, I'm still, like, finding out things about myself. So, like...
You didn't know about that mustache till recently.
Girl, it came out of nowhere.
Oh, no, it's been there for years.
Oh, my God. I will not accept that.
We used to call you Morgan the Stash.
I think... I'll think of a more, like, funny name for that later for you.
Oh, Reed.
Yeah.
Okay, well... We both have mustaches, so you might be better at wordplay, but...
We'll see. I'm pretty good at all things, so, like, whatever. But, So the hero's journey. Yes. So Dorothy goes on this journey and really I don't have a ton to say about it except that it's a formative part of life and it's a very important part of the story.
So first of all, love the hero's journey. You know, that is something that you see in Greek and Roman works that pretty much every classic to some regard contains, right? In some regard, I should say. And I think that in The Wizard of Oz, you know, it's a little bit harder because she doesn't ever really seem to die. That's part of the hero's journey, to die and to be reborn or like go to the underworld. But she does go to the witch's castle.
She does.
And that's pretty dark.
And frankly, I mean, this isn't at the right part for like other hero's journeys, but like going over the rainbow, like... her whole journey through the tornado, like, it could have been just her afterlife. Like, I mean,
that's a good point.
The whole situation is very like dream.
I didn't consider it that way because she's got all of those problems in Kansas too. Like that could be like the introduction and all the building action and the rising action. That could all be considered to be in Kansas, honestly.
Yeah.
Because her life isn't great. Like her aunt and uncle are poor. They don't have time for her. It's in the Depression.
Her dog gets taken away by a
takes her goddamn dog. It's her only friend, seemingly.
And she's gonna kill that dog.
Yeah.
She's a rude lady.
I hate her.
She's the worst.
Ooh, I like how mean everyone is to her. I think it's very,
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I'm mean to someone, I imagine that they are like Miss Gulch types who deserve it. It may not be true, but that's what I imagine.
Yeah, you got to.
Did you know, though? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you know that they considered Shirley Temple for the role of Dorothy?
Yes, did. And she was only like 11.
Yeah, she was like, 10 or 11.
That's absurd.
Well, first of all, the reason I bring that up is because I think that Judy Garland, it wouldn't have had the depth that it has if they had, and I love Shirley Temple. Girl, Heidi was a movie I watched up, down, and sideways as a child.
Girl.
Love her. But
you love those like butch outdoorsy like children movies.
I know, because it's so butch. Yeah, exactly. Oh my, yes. You're right, I do.
You do.
Well, except Heidi's like about a little girl and her grandfather's goats. Like, it's not that butch.
Girl.
I mean, they live in a mountain, granted, but
there's a lot of pigtails in that movie.
That's true, and a lot of flouncy dresses. Yeah. She knows how to.
They ain't afraid to flannel.
She taught me. But it wouldn't have been the same movie had they cast Shirley Temple, because Judy Garland, even as a young girl, she brings so much depth that later became vulnerability, darkness, addiction, sadness.
Yeah, her life was very sad. Yeah,
yes,
we'll talk
but
a
it
little
was
bit
wedded
about
to
that.
such amazing talent, though.
It was. It's a hard
amazing
time. Okay, so that was the hero's journey. We agree. Great, fantastic. Female empowerment. It's so important for young women to be able to read stories about strong women. Like, I cannot, say that enough to people, because we were just talking about this. Like, so many stories are male-centric, and Harry Potter, one of my favorite books ever, so great, but would I love it as much if Hermione Granger wasn't there? I don't know that I would, because, it's so central to, it's just important, because there's so many stories where women are downplayed or unimportant, or they're just eye candy, or they're just the special godmother or the magical person who makes a difference and then they leave, or they're your mother, or whatever. But women need to go on journeys. Little girls need to understand that when they dream and they daydream, they need to dream big. They need to think about themselves going on the journey. Don't make yourself the sidekick. Girl, you are the hero of your own story.
You ain't the Yellow Ranger.
No,
you're the Red Ranger. You're the female Red Ranger.
So I think for a book from the 1900s and staying in the pop culture zeitgeist, it's a really important story for women, and I really, really appreciate that.
I 100% agree. I think it's a story for outsiders in general.
Yeah.
Think about in the 1900s, but especially the women. I'm not trying to downplay that at all, because I think that speaks to Baum's heart. What a sweet man that in the 1900s, when no one was doing it. Look, I literally had chills.
Yeah.
He wrote a book in which a young girl, just by being herself. I mean, she's just honest, forthright,
kind,
tells it like it is,
helpful,
kind. She's not cunning. She has no special powers.
She's not malicious.
No. And good things come to her because she is such a good person. But it never would have happened without her. She is the through line.
I read that
until later in the series.
Yeah. His wife, either they didn't have children or they couldn't have children. But she had a sister with a daughter that was her own. Her niece was her daughter. Their family was very close. And then her niece died. She got sick, kids did, and they couldn't fix it because they didn't have the technology or the medicine. And that little girl's name was Dorothy. And so in honor of her, he made the heroine of his story a woman, of course, and then he named her Dorothy.
That is so sweet. I didn't know that, Morgie.
Yeah.
That's interesting, too, because, in the future we're going to do an Alice in Wonderland podcast. And, of course, there was also a real Alice, though that relationship, I'm sure you've heard, is much, potentially much creepier. But, okay, so I do want to say, though, like, I think one of the reasons Wizard of Oz is still popular is because everyone can see themselves in that outsider that Dorothy is, right? That essentially good outsider who, as she goes through her journey to maturity, pulls around her a collection of weirdos who are her friends because they're her friends. You know what I mean? Like, just because they have a connection. Because, you know, The Wizard of Oz, in addition to being an important story for women, is a very important story for gay men, specifically. I don't think lesbians have the connection to it that specifically gay men do. Do you have any thoughts on why it's a queer classic?
I don't really, but I have an interesting correlation that I feel like Wicked as a story is very prevalent in lesbian culture because, I mean, the two main women, and they had a very interesting relationship.
They have a dalliance in that stagecoach. Remember that scene?
Yep. So I feel like it really parallels it, but in like, you know, in a different way. So I guess it just transcends every different kind of storytelling. But I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
I did kind of set myself up for you to ask me that, didn't I? I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I want to know.
Well, it worked out well. Yeah. Well, first of all, we're talking about representation of strong female protagonists. Now, of course, in the 1900s, except for maybe Oscar Wilde, he was around that time, I think, a little bit before. There wasn't really any queer representation of any sort. Yeah. But, you know, in that movie, and we've talked about this kind of already, but the Tin Man and the Lion are both coded as not gay, not like dick sucking necessarily. You know what I mean? But they are coded as
the Tin Man comes out, he's got like white stuff on his mouth.
Exactly, you know.
He's like, excuse me.
Well, it's like, I'm sorry, but from the very first moment when the Tin Man's like, grr, 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 ma, oh my goodness. Like, that feels so good. He's so gay.
Yeah.
He's so gay.
And when the lion goes to the Emerald City and he gets like all did up, he gets like little curls and little like bows in his hair.
And it's a bunch of ladies doing his beautiful hair. Yeah, it's so queer.
And then Tin Man's like, yeah, buff it out.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's got the like muscular, like half naked guys. Like buff. It's all very queer, you know? But you know, it's funny though, because when we talk about, have you heard the term Friends of Dorothy as a term for gay men?
I'm not.
That was a very popular, like, I would say like a generation ago. You say like, gay men are like Friends of Dorothy, or like there were probably even groups called Friends of Dorothy that were like queer meetup spaces. We don't say Friends of the Tin Man. We don't say Friends of the Lion. You know what I mean? We say Friends of Dorothy. And I think that's because Dorothy doesn't fit in Kansas, right? She has nothing but trouble there. And then she goes to a land, quote unquote, over the rainbow, where she's suddenly surrounded by people who make her seem normal to boring. And I think that mirrors the journey that many queer people have, any kind of queer person, from a rural environment to an urban one, right? Because like New York and San Francisco and LA, any major city is a mecca for people who are different, especially people who have gender or sexual differences from the norm.
Also, Dorothy has a very real coming out of the closet moment where everything is colorful and there's a party.
Yes! And you're like, why are these people so small? They
everything
love me so much.
Is fun here.
Have you heard, I don't know, did you hear the theory about The Wizard of Oz being a drug movie? Have you heard that theory?
Well, how do you mean?
Well, it's kind of
I took drugs and watched that movie.
And it's great for that, as are most fantasy movies. Yeah. But no, there was something about, so first of all, you have the poppy field.
Oh,
right?
Sure,
Opium,
yeah.
And then snowfalls.
But I felt like that wasn't like in between the lines at all. Like,
no, it's
right
very obvious. Yeah. And that was like, it's in the poppy field's in the books. But in the books, instead of snow falling, Glinda making snowfall, which people think is cocaine. They're like, snow, cocaine, because one's a downer and one's an upper, right? I think that's just a coincidence, personally. In the books, they just pick Dorothy up and haul her ass out of the field, and it's like no big deal. And then the mice, there are this kingdom of mice, and they pick up the lion and haul him out. But anyway, but they also talk about, oh my God, I read this. I thought it was so funny. You know the Lollipop Guild in the movie?
Yes, they're queer AF.
Yeah, they're very queer. Yeah. Well, with those costumes, you got no choice. You know, whether or not you like the dick, you look pretty queer there, babe. They hand her that popsicle, or that lollipop, I should say. And people are like, oh, they're like drug dealers giving you like a first taste of the drug. Now, that's a stretch, girl. It speaks to the classic nature of the movie in which you can read anything into it, but...
Also, they're so, like, later, the Oompa Loompas are so reminiscent of, like, the fucking Lollipop Guild.
They totally are.
Yeah,
I could totally see that. Yeah.
Small, creepy, candy-filled horrors. Okay, I have one more before we move further.
Fabu.
The number 5, the power of trust. So, for me, the idea of trust is Dorothy... She's going on this journey, right? And she chooses to befriend these different people and she trusts in them and they trust in her to like kind of mutually help each other accomplish what they're, you know, looking for. They want to go to the Emerald City. But the overall, and then of course she trusts in Glinda and she follows her advice by setting out on this journey.
Good thing that trust worked out. Okay,
yes, girl. And she's constantly placing her trust in people, sometimes misguided. She places her trust in the wizard.
He's full of lies.
And then in the end, she places really the trust in herself and she knows that like she had the power like all along to like do what she wanted and like get home. So to me, the idea of trust is just like fucking papered throughout the entire experience because if Dorothy had never trusted in anybody, she never would have gotten anywhere. So you have to like, and that's a really important thing I think for children and people in general to learn is like you have to trust a little to get anywhere in life because if you shut yourself off, if you put your walls up, you're just not going to get very far.
Morgie, that was so beautifully said.
Thank you, BB.
You're welcome. You're eloquent. That's what you are.
I'm eloquent.
Girl, you're so eloquent.
I'm pretty hype.
I do think that's a really important and difficult to understand line, though. Do you know what I mean? That line of trust. Like, do I trust too much? Do I trust too little? Because I think as younger people, most of us, unless we've experienced trauma, are very trusting, too trusting, in fact, and think...
That's how girls get kidnapped and they live in someone's basement for 17 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's also how, you know, your boyfriend's gay for years and you have no idea.
You trust too hard. You're like, he wants to keep me pure. It's not because he doesn't want to have sex with me.
Exactly. He likes musicals, but he's so straight.
I mean, you think of it in a different way. You're like, he likes musicals. That's great.
That's awesome. We have lots of things in common. He likes musicals. And dick.
You didn't, girl.
Oh, I did like musicals.
No, but you didn't like me.
I did like you.
I know. I'm very likable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like you like a pet. Like a little parakeet. No, that's not true. And we won't go into that right now, Morgan. We'll talk about that off the air. You know I love you. But I do think finding that line between trusting too much and trusting too little, it's kind of similar to me to the line between too professional and not professional enough. Now that we're adults, I think those are connected.
I tread that line a lot.
I do too.
I'm very cash.
Yes, I am too. And I'm also, as discussed, an asshole. So, like, the things I want to say to people, even out of love sometimes, I'm like, girl, I actually can't say that at work. Like, that's just not appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's connected to trust. Why is it not appropriate? I'm not so much afraid I'm going to hurt someone's feelings because people know me and they know how I communicate. But what I am afraid of is, you know, a year from now, they'll say, oh, I'll piss them off somehow. And then they'll go to people and be like, he told me I was a dirty slut. I'm fired. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's that easy.
It's like when I'm like, having a fight with Aaron and he brings up like some dumb shit that I said like 6 months ago. And I'm like, I told you 6 months ago not to bring that shit up.
Why does he go back 6 months when you say dumb shit every day?
Oh, girl.
Oh, zing zinged.
Zinga. Zing. So anyways, those are kind of like my top 5 themes.
I love that.
There's obviously a lot more shit that's going on, but that's where I lie with my feelings.
Could I presume to match your top 5 list with the top 5 list of my own?
Hit it, girl.
There's some overlap, but it's actually quite a different list. So I pulled together my top 5 iconic scenes.
Yes.
Yes. These are all from the movie, though most of them are present in the book in some form. And I was really thinking, like, for example, "There's no place like home" is not on this list because that's an iconic line, but like the scene actually isn't.
The
that
moment
iconic
isn't,
to me.
yeah.
Okay, so, and these are in quite particular order. Okay. Number 5, the poppy field, where they all fall asleep. Would you say that is one of the more memorable scenes for you from the movie, or no?
Yeah. It's it looks real cozy. And I also wanted to go there and take a nap with Dorothy and be powdered in cocaine.
Who doesn't?
It looks really nice.
Right? Who doesn't want to be a friend of Dorothy surrounded by snow?
Yeah. Also, it had one of those really, like, very Wizard of Oz moments where there's a thing that's happening and then they overlay another thing that's happening, which is very Wizard of Oz. And so I kind of like that. It's very dreamy.
I do think it is a beautiful, sort of like fantastic, dreamy scene. I think one of the reasons it's so iconic for me is, do you remember after Dorothy and the lion both fall asleep, they're on the ground. Toto's out. You know, he's a bundle
He's
person.
dead.
Yeah, he's dead. And then they're like, "Oh my God, what the fuck are we gonna do?" And out of nowhere, the Tin Man starts screaming for help. Remember? He's like, "Help! Help!"
Just like a fag.
Exactly. But then you see, heteronormativity lady over there. You have no room to be on a pedestal because, first of all, the straight lady's out of the situation. She done dead.
She high as fuck.
Yeah, she is. She's out. And then the quote-unquote straight man, the Scarecrow, he gets all judgy. He says, "That won't do any good." And then you know what he does next? He starts screaming for help, too. Because they don't know what to do. Yeah. Help! Somebody! So I remember as a child, that struck me as deeply hilarious.
Yeah.
Deeply hilarious. But I think also so much of the, like, drug connection, outsider connection, I think part of the reason it is a cult classic is because of scenes like that.
For sure.
The underworld or drugs and stuff.
Do you think, sidebar, in general, that The Wizard of Oz is very funny at all? It's not very funny. Which is interesting because even things like Alice in Wonderland, which are a cult classic, was pretty funny. There's lots of some funny moments.
Yeah. The Red Queen is pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and the caterpillar is very, like, wily with his words, which is amusing. But in general, The Wizard of Oz is pretty dry.
It's got
pretty straightforward.
I mean, there's funny stuff. Like, I think the lion's performance, Bert Lahr's performance, is just generally funny. He was
not as funny as he is in The Wiz.
I thought you meant Bert Lahr was in The Wiz, and I was like, how? I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, he's funnier in The Wiz. Well, The Wiz is funny in fucking general. Wiz is funny. That's a big plus that it has over The Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Can I think of any other laugh moments? Not on purpose. I think I may have laughed at
things that we just laugh at, yeah.
But, like, no. But you know what? That makes sense, though, because humor is generally not timeless. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like themes can be timeless and dramatic anything can be timeless, but humor is very connected to the time it's in.
Sure.
Generally.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's like Greek plays, even the ones that are supposed to be comedies, girl, those aren't funny. Because we don't know Bukkake or whoever.
Oh, we do though.
Well, we do know, but you're right. That was literally the first word that came to my head, which is kind of sad. We don't know, like, Desitophanes, you know, so, like, we don't give a shit what he's doing.
And then they're like, ha ha ha, and you're like, yes.
Hilarious.
I'm laughing because I'm very intelligent also.
Exactly, because I'm a classics major.
Man, people who laugh at Greek classics, they're those dicks at, like, cheese and wine parties that, like, you don't want to talk to.
Oh, yeah. I've known a few in my life. Yeah. No, when I look in the mirror, you keep that comment to yourself. I saw you thinking that.
No, you're not smart enough.
Aw, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So sweet. You'll fucking know me. Okay, number 4, iconic scene. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
I like that.
This connects to the trust you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because that is her fucking loss of innocence. That is the moment. Because she's gone through this scary shit. She's killed the witch, whatever. But before that, it was very much like childhood. It's like you do the right thing, you try hard, you treat your friends well,
she couldn't
and you're going to come out okay.
He would, like, that it would be a lie. Like,
no,
what? How could
why would you?
That?
Yeah, everyone told her the wizard is the stuff, right?
They all think it.
Mm-hmm. And just because everyone tells you something, girl, does not mean it's true.
Also, like, he didn't really try to hide himself very well. Like, somebody should have given him some pointers on lying. Like, girl, I have some tips for you.
Well, girl, that was all Toto, though. Because he saw that shit and he went, he pulled back that curtain. Mm-hmm. You know, Toto can talk in the later books.
Toto is a total gangster.
I love Toto.
Yeah, we're a Dorothy Gale without Toto.
My dog's name was Toto as a kid. Aww. Because I love the movie so much. I was all about it.
That's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, Toto's real name was Terry.
That's a downgrade.
And Terry was a girl.
Oh, I love that. So was my Toto. I always thought, I guess she calls him boy, but I always thought Toto was a girl. Probably because my dog was, actually. That's probably makes sense, but... Yeah, Toto's the shit, man. And later in the book series, when he finally, or she, I guess I don't know, dogs or he's, I don't know, whatever. When Toto finally talks, they're like, Toto, why you didn't say nothing? And Toto's like, I didn't have nothing to say. Like, legit. Toto's just like, nah, man, you know, I'm fine.
Toto's actually like, it's like Gyrol, but like if Gyrol was like a tiny terrier, he was like, nah, bro, it's all good. It's all good.
Shit is what
and
it is,
I'm real.
Okay, number 3, most iconic scene. The death of the Wicked Witch, right?
Yeah.
So I watched it over and over. I watched it like 14 times.
Were you high?
Yes, I was. And
that's an excessive amount of time.
Well, because I wanted to get down exactly what she says. I want to read it back to you now. Okay?
You could have Googled a transcript.
No, I go to the original document,
source
Morgan,
material?
because I'm an actual historian.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so first off, she screams. And then she says, "You cursed brat. Look what you've done. I'm melting. Melting. Oh, what a world. What a world. Who would have thought a good little girl like you could destroy my beautiful wickedness?"
Aww.
Oh, she screams. I'm going. She screams. She screams. I love it. Iconic.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that scene when you were a kid?
I was like, but where did she go to? First of all.
Yeah, first.
Like, what had happened?
Someone explain physics to me.
It was like a little traumatic. And also, like, I didn't understand, like, how and why the water was powerful. And then I first thought, like, is it holy water? Or, like, what? Why? And then, I also felt like it was really sad. It was sad to see her empty clothes just like laying there and her little hat and like how did that make her feel that she had killed someone?
2 now.
Yeah.
To be blamed for 2 deaths.
That's a lot. I don't know. Yeah, I had a lot of feelings about it. Like, how did it make you feel?
Yes, Solo. I think it's interesting we both felt a sadness when the Wicked Witch died because, of course, now we've got Wicked and, like, we're young.
And we love her.
And we love it. We loved that musical when we were younger and today. Yeah. But, like, before, she was just supposed to be wicked, girl. She wasn't supposed to have no lovely backstory. And she is quite evil. I used to be very scared. Right before Dorothy throws the water on her, the Wicked Witch is like, how about a little fire, Scarecrow?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And now she's thrown a fireball at the Scarecrow before when they were in the forest, but very rude and also badly lobbed too. I mean, she's not athletic.
And in the forest, she can set forest fires. Yeah, Smokey the Bear would not be pleased.
No one would be pleased with her. But she's wicked, so who's shocked? When she says that, there's so much cruelty in her voice, and then she reaches out. I guess she sets the end of her broom on fire, right? From the torch. And then she reaches out to set it on fire. And it always struck me, I should say. It always struck me as such cold-blooded, torturous murder that in that moment I was afraid of her. But then once she died and she had that like pitiful melting scene.
Yeah.
I thought, and then as a child I was always very sad because the only people she has for friends are her flying monkeys and those little crazy men in fur hats.
Yeah.
And granted, they're also like her Nazi whatever. Like, they do whatever she says, or her army. But I was like, they don't even care. Like, they're happy she's dead. Like, it legit used to make me so sad, because I was like, she's green. Like, she's got a really hard life.
Yeah.
And I get that but first of all, Dorothy killed her sister right from jump.
To be fair, that was sort of an accident.
Yes, but wouldn't you be mad if someone dropped a house on your sister?
No, like, I hear you from the
I would be looking for a scapegoat.
But it was an accident.
It was an accident, yes. And I wish, but they don't never know. I mean, Dorothy says it's an accident, but then Glinda's like, you get out of here, you have no power. And I have to tell you, I would be like, fuck you, bitch, my sister is dead. Someone's telling me what happened right here. And furthermore,
like, can we just have a conversation about it?
Then they stole those shiny shoes off her damn body. Those are my shiny shoes.
I hear you on the shoes.
Girl, I'm getting heated. I'm
to
like
the
flushing.
No.
If my
sister died, if my sister was crushed by a house, and she was wearing some beautiful ass shoes,
she left you one thing.
and they was my size, hell no.
Girl.
Them's are my shoes.
I ain't got nothing left of my sister. Her legs done withered away up under the house.
I might have set a bitch's friend on fire too to get my shoes back.
I know, right? She was in a chasm of grief and loss and outsiderness.
And so lonely.
She was isolated.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hear you.
But it's a very
hindsight.
Yeah. Yes. And the way they did it, I think it's very well done. Even today, I think it's aged incredibly well.
Yeah, I agree. So many things have aged well, I think.
Just in general.
Yeah, it's beautiful still.
Number 2, most iconic scene, the entire Over the Rainbow moment. The song, everything shot with it, the birds flying up in the clouds. Like,
it was beautiful. Judy Garland cemented her place in, like, Queen Hall of Fame. It was so fabulous. So beautiful.
That song is that scene, that bit of the film is so interesting because, you know, when people talk about the X Factor?
The TV show?
The whole reason the TV show is called that, right? Like, to be a star, you need to have the X Factor. I feel like that scene and Judy Garland singing that song is an example of, like, X Factor.
Yes.
Because if Shirley Temple had sang that, and no shade to Shirley Temple, it wouldn't have been right. It was the perfect melding of an actress and the actress's voice and where she was in her life and a song.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Liza Minnelli said in a documentary I watched that Judy Garland believed in this. Like, you could tell when she sang it, and knowing her mother, she knew this, that she believed in this, like, over the rainbow, like, hopes and dreams. And, like,
and she was, like, a troubled teenager.
Yeah,
so,
hope
like,
was
it's
important.
Yeah, it's really, yes, it's very timely for her and her life that she was able to sing that song. And like we mentioned before, they thought about cutting that from the movie. They weren't going to leave it in because it took up too much time.
That is so fucked up. After the second preview, they were like, it slows down the pace too much and it's undignified for an actress to sing in a barnyard. Can you imagine if they had cut that?
No, girl.
No. I don't think it would be the classic it is without that song. Yeah. I think that song is a big part of its popularity.
Yeah, of course. It was beautiful. I love it. Classic.
Okay. Do you have a guess as to what my number 1 is? Do you think you can guess it? No shade if you can't.
Is it... I'm hoping it has something to do with the witch trying to get the ruby slippers away from Dorothy, but it could also have something to do with the wizard. So, I don't know. You go ahead.
So, you're a failure. Nothing. You're a failure all the way around. It's funny, the wizard didn't come up for me, because these are just, like, pulled from my own zeitgeist, or my own inner monologue, but the wizard was never that memorable to me. I was like, the minute I found out he was a humbug, I was like, fuck you, I erased you from my memory. To me...
Is it the monkeys?
The monkeys were they were an honorable mention. Okay. The monkeys, you know, when she's like, fly! And the monk, all of that is that's honorable mention. Number 1 to me is the Technicolor reveal.
Oh shit, duh, of course.
Yes, when she walks out of the house, and it's just so gorgeous.
I read
it brings me to tears.
That the way that they accomplished that for the film is that they had a body double for Dorothy, and they did it all in one, like, pan, like, one take, and Dorothy's body double was inside a sepia toned room. Like, they just made everything in the room sepia toned, and, like, so was her attire and her hair. And then as she walked out into the color they panned, and then when they came back to Dorothy, it was replaced by Judy Garland, who was wearing her very now famous little prairie dress and her pigtails. Fun fact, her prairie dress is not white and blue, it is pink and blue.
Oh my god.
Because the white and blue against the Technicolor faded, like the contrast wasn't very good, so when they replaced it with pink, it was much more crisp.
That's kind of like how, oh, it's gonna be mean to you, but I can't think of it. I hate that, don't you? Hey, I was too trusting in that moment, because I trusted that my brain in the universe would give me an insult.
But you forgot to factor in the wine that you drank.
That's true.
Yeah.
You'll be a horrible parent.
Oh, well, that's truth.
It's not witty, but it's cutting and cruel.
It's very rude.
No, you'll be a fantastic parent. So what do you think? Top 5 iconic scenes. Now, we mentioned the flying monkeys. Is there anything else? Is there like an odd scene that you would have added in?
Yeah. 2 scenes. The moment when Dorothy starts to follow the yellow brick road, when the munchkins are all like, follow the yellow brick road, and she does it in that like, it's like a coil, and she follows it out until it gets into like one solid path. I think it's a beautiful, iconic moment.
I'm with you there.
And then the moment when the witch has Dorothy and tries to like use her magic to take the slippers off her feet, and then she can't do it.
I love it. It's like, ta-chow!
Another one I can think of is when Glinda flies in and
in the bubble. Yeah. See, now look.
There's too many.
There's so many iconic
I think you hit it. You're
Lions
number
and
1.
Tigers and bears, though.
Oh my.
We haven't said that. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
You nailed it with number 1, though. That switch from sepia tone to color is like
shocking,
mesmerizing. It takes you from one place to another. Like, you really go over the rainbow with Dorothy on that one. It's incredible. Very smart. Very, very beautiful. I love it.
You know what else is very beautiful?
Me.
Is this like, are we telling funny jokes?
Oh!
For the 50th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz, there was a pair of real ruby slippers.
Oh, snap.
Made by Harry Winston, which I guess is a defunct brand that I don't know about, but probably some people do.
Sure.
Guess how much those cost? So this is in the 50s. I guess it was 50th anniversary.
1939.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
89?
So 80. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, that makes more sense.
Real rubies.
Real rubies. And a full-size pair. Ruby slippers.
$650,000.
Much higher.
$1 million?
Higher.
$4 million.
$3 million.
Damn.
These ruby slippers. And because
who bought them? Who owns them?
Well, that's part of the surprise. Because I've been such a bad friend to you, I wanted to buy you. Oh, fuck you!
Yeah!
No, fuck you. There's nothing. I have no ruby slippers. I don't even have much of a future.
Girl,
it's yours.
That's fair.
But yeah, can you believe that? People love The Wizard of Oz, girl. They're willing to pay any amount of money for this.
If I was like a super multi-millionaire, like if I only had $10 million, like no way would I spend $3 million of it on slippers. But if I had like $800 million, girl, buy some real ruby slippers.
That's an investment. It's full of rubies, girl. That's a legit, like gems are an investment. Well, if you could own one prop or costume piece, I haven't thought about this, so I don't have anything prepared either, from The Wizard of Oz, what would, you know.
The slippers.
Oh, you would
what?
do the slippers.
Girl, what else?
I don't like feet. I don't know. I'm not into the feet.
Oh, girl, I would love so cute in this.
I would love the Wicked Witches. The Wicked Witches costume. Like, cause she's got that fabulous, like, cape.
You want a black tablecloth.
Essentially.
Over ruby slippers.
Yes. And the hat.
Okay.
I like the hat,
That's great. Your choice.
Why are you hating?
I ain't hating. I'm just hoping them slippers in a size 6.5, girl.
You know who you remind me of right now?
Somebody drunk?
Miss Gulch.
You old hateful bitch.
I'll say anything to get a reaction.
True enough.
All right.
Okay, so speaking of the ruby slippers, we had kind of mentioned that in the book, the slippers are silver. They represent possibly the silver standard in contrast to the gold standard. But in the movie, the slippers are ruby. Do you know why they made that change?
I believe I know. Let's see if we heard the same thing.
Okay.
There was a man by the name of Noel Langley.
No, we did not hear the same thing.
Oh, we didn't?
Continue.
Okay, so this is what I heard. A man named Noel Langley was he was one of 14 writers on this movie, okay?
Okay.
First of all. And it was his idea to change them from silver to ruby. He also had the idea to make the 3 companions also like the farmhands. So like...
Oh, okay. I liked that.
And he also wrote There's No Place Like Home and made that a big part of the movie, like a major thematic moment. That's what I read. What'd you read, though?
Well, not that, girl. I read that because of the Technicolor aspect of the movie was kind of new and like it was very vivid, that they found that silver slippers just didn't garner this like crazy, like beautiful color image, especially in contrast to the gold, the yellow brick road. And they found that red was like kind of the thing that did the trick, and that ruby slippers kind of just like rolls off the tongue. So they went with that.
That makes sense. Well, I bet it was both.
Yeah, probably a little bit both. Maybe that was his idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and honestly, yeah, ruby slippers over silver slippers all day.
Yeah, like I'm not saying I would turn down a silver slipper, but
with
like
her little blue socks.
Yeah, it's like so perfect.
Oh man, she looked oh girl, I love it.
And different enough to be really memorable too.
Oh yeah.
You know?
When I was a kid, I went to DC. I visited the Smithsonian with like my grandma and my sister and like probably a couple other family members. And I remember being like mesmerized by lots of things at the Smithsonian. Like it's just a cool place to go. Have you been there before?
I have. I don't remember.
I was real young when I went, so I don't remember
on like
a lot of
field
specifics.
Trip, so I did a lot of
So it's like a cool place to visit.
Oh, yeah,
there's lots
100%.
of stuff. But there was no feeling like the feeling I got when I walked into a room and had no idea that it was going to happen, and that there was a glass case with a pair of like slippers from the movie. There was many pairs. There was not like one pair. But you know, like when you don't know something's happening and then it just like happens and you just become like overcome with emotion. That was like 11-year-old Morgan. Like I walked into that room. I remember what I was wearing. I had found, a feather.
A potato sack.
No. I had found a feather by the water. I was in like a hippie kid phase, which lasted until currently still ongoing. But I was very hippie. So I had on this like daisy tank top, no bra with like puffy nipples like you do when you're 11 and on the verge of puberty. I'm sure my grandma was like, why don't you wear a sports training bra? And I was like, what? There's no need. I'll just wear this white shirt where everyone can see my pink nipples. Yeah. And I had on these like little Daisy Duke shorts, and I had these really thick like tennis shoes because I was a really short kid, and I had my hair in like a side braid.
Wait, you were wearing lifts like a North Korean ruler?
No, like Baby Spice.
Oh, okay, like Baby Spice.
Yeah. And I had freckles on my face, and I had flowers in my braid, and I had found a feather by the water, which I stuck in the back of my braid.
You get mites.
I don't care. And I walked into this room, and like my life changed when I like laid eyes on like, cause it's like when you're a kid and you love things, you don't really feel like they're real. And then like when you get this like moment of like realism, like it's a real thing. Here's these real slippers, and like I'm sure there was like this big thing with like lots of words, but there was just like music playing, and I just like beeline for it, and I was like, here are all these slippers and everything is great. And like it was like a magical moment, and it was beautiful, and I think that I really want those ruby slippers.
Well, girl, you can have them.
So when you get rich and you buy me my Arwen death dress, you can go ahead and buy me some ruby slippers too.
Okay.
Well, because you can be like super rich.
I am going to be super like so rich that like Donald Trump tries to lick my feet.
Oh, damn,
that's how rich
girl.
I'm going to be. Yeah, I'm not going to let him lick my feet.
That's
Don't get
dystopian.
Me wrong. He's going to try. Yes, I am. I'm bigger brother.
Oh,
that's what people are going to call me.
Well, you be you, girl. So anyway, girl, we have talked a lot about the Wizard of Oz. I thought we could talk just a little bit about the different transitions that it has had in our cultures. There have been so many iterations of the Wizard of Oz. So I went ahead and made a chronological list of the most popular ones that I know of.
Are you going to start? Because I realize now we haven't actually mentioned it aloud, and I peeked at your notes. I know you're not. We just do need to say that, like, there are 40 books that are in The Wizard of Oz, right? Is that something you're going to cover later, Morgan?
It is a little note that I had.
Okay, I'm sorry, never mind.
No, tell us more about that.
Well,
because more iterations of The Wizard of Oz are the crazy amount of sequels and, like, series that he created. Which is interesting because I read that he originally wrote it as a standalone book, and then kind of as fan service was like, okay, here's a lot more.
Yeah. Well, because each of his later Oz books has a foreword, or is that true? Many of them do, at least, because I remember as a child reading them. And he always talks about the insane amount of fan mail that he gets, or got. And he said he got it from people of all ages. You know, we're talking about why it's a classic. I think one of the things is people of all ages are drawn to it. We're talking about like grandma liking it too, right? He has said that he wrote The Wizard of Oz for not just the young, but for anyone who is young at heart, which I think is so beautiful. And he wrote 20 books. Well, actually, they're saying now that his ghostwriter, who took over the series after him, wrote the 20th book. But the collection of books I have, his name is on the 20th.
Oh, so, girl.
Yeah, you know, it has a little controversy. She helped him at least. He at least wrote 19. And then
That's
maybe
crazy.
the 20th. And then after that, she took over, and I totally didn't write down her name, but I'm sure she made plenty of money off of that series. And she did it for like 10 more books, and then someone else took over. Anyway, there are 40 that are considered to be like Oz canon, but then beyond that and after that, because it's in free domain starting in the 50s,
right,
bajillions of people wrote Oz stories.
Right, which means, so free domain means like the copyright ran up, and it's just like anybody's grandma can make Bojangi Tin Mans and sell them.
Exactly. Exactly. Man, no, my grandma never sold them. She made them for those she loved.
Aw, a true Tin Man.
Exactly.
So just some different iterations that have happened. So The Wizard of Oz, the book was published in 1900, and then the movie came in 1939 starring Judy Garland, and then in 1978 we were graced with The Wiz.
So good.
Which is so fantastic, and if you never saw it for like weird reasons, or like you never took theater, which is like a reason maybe you didn't see it,
Not a good reason, though.
Amazing. The songs are like incredible. Michael Jackson.
Can I just interrupt you to say, a teen! A teen!
I love it.
That's my favorite part.
I love it. Yeah, so everybody needs to see that. In 1985, Disney made a movie called The Return of Oz, that was popular and dark and scary.
We'll return to that later on. I've got a bit on that.
Wicked was a book written by, is it Gregory Maguire? In 1995, and then it became the phenomenon Broadway musical that it is in the year 2003.
No one mourns the wicked.
Good news!
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to join me. I should have known. Can we just talk about...
Yes.
Because you... now, we're going to do a whole podcast episode on Wicked because we have a lot to say, but just briefly on the books. Can we just put it out as truth that the first book is, I would say, good to great. And then after
Wicked.
that... Yes.
Yeah.
And then after Wicked, like Son of a Witch and all that, horrible.
Yeah, it's
I thought they
trash.
were so boring.
I bought and did not read the third one, which was like the Cowardly Lion
like
situation.
Courage or something it's called.
Yeah. I bought it and I was like,
You know why I did very similar? I checked it out from the library years ago and I was like, nah, return, never
He's
read.
not the best author. I have read a couple of his other books because his whole stitch is that he does like, counter fairy tales, right? So he does like a book about like the ugly stepsister.
Exactly, which I've heard that one's really
I read
good.
that one.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was called like Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister.
Yeah, but he's done one for like every Disney tale.
Yes. Yeah. But like, yeah, there's some of them are good to great, and then most of them are like good idea but lackluster follow through. But I feel him on the idea. It's a fantastic idea.
Oh yeah, he's our people. He's our tribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Wicked went from like fucking rags to riches. I mean, like, it is crazy how great it is and how many people love it. It's amazing.
It's the Mick Parker of books.
Okay, well, that's one way to look at it.
Because everybody loves it. That's one.
Well, yeah, I get
That's facts.
In 2005, the Muppets did a version of The Wizard of Oz called The Muppets Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
It's pretty good. Miss Piggy plays Glinda.
I love it. Who's the Wicked Witch? Who plays the Wicked Witch? Do you know?
Oh, Shit, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I remember the Tin Man is Gonzo, but they call him the Tin Thing because he's not a man. Is Kermit the Scarecrow? Girl, I don't know. It's been a minute.
That would make sense. Oh, I want to know.
Yeah. So you should Google the cast of the Muppets.
And then comment below, because you see, we've had a whole bottle of wine. I'm slightly drunk. I won't remember to look it up. So please let me know.
Definitely not. There was this mini series on Sci-Fi starring Zooey Deschanel as Dorothy called...
The OZ.
It was called Tin Man, I think.
Oh, it's called Tin Man. Oh, really? Oh, wait. Is the OZ a prison show? No, I thought it was called the OZ.
Maybe it is. I thought it was called Tin Man.
I could be wrong. Did you watch that, Morgan?
I did.
So good.
I liked it a lot.
I did not like it the first time I watched it, but here's why. I hadn't seen New Girl with Zooey Deschanel at that time. And
you didn't appreciate her?
No, she is an acquired I love her now. Yeah. And I love the OZ now, or Tin Man. I think it is maybe called Tin Man. I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
That thing was Zooey Deschanel from Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
it was
just
in 2007.
Google that shit. You'll find it. Don't worry about it. You got a phone.
It's good. It's good in that sci-fi way. So like,
yes.
Like True is kind of bad as far as sci-fi. Like if you like sci-fi stuff, Sci-Fi Channel, you're gonna like this show. Like, it was a really good miniseries.
It's quite well cast.
Indeed. She makes a great Dorothy.
Oh, yeah. And the Scarecrow is that guy who played the MC in the revival of Cabaret. Not Joel Grey, but boop. I don't remember his name. But he's amazing as the Scarecrow.
Also, in hindsight, I'm currently watching this show that people have been like really into. It's a miniseries on HBO called Big Little Lies. It's based on like some book.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
I never watched it because I thought it was just like a show about like rich white ladies, which true enough it is. But I'm like really into it because it's also a murder mystery. And
you love that shit, girl. True crime murder mysteries, you're all about it.
Don't get me started. But one of the guys in that show, I'm pretty sure, I didn't Google this, but I'm pretty sure he's the Tin Man from Zooey Deschanel's situation.
He's also Dark in The Arrow. Did you watch Arrow? You haven't got to Damien Dark yet?
No, I don't think so.
Am I lying? I'm pretty sure I'm not. He plays almost like a sheriff kind of type figure.
No, I'm not there. I don't know who that is.
No, I mean in the OZ or the yeah. He plays he's like a sheriff type, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes. I'm almost 100% certain that he is a villain in Arrow. You'll see him soon. And in Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
He's a crossover villain.
So there's that. Everyone should watch it. And then there was this horrible pile of trash that came out in 2013 called Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James Franco.
That was so disappointing.
Didn't we watch it together? We were living together. Yeah. And I rented it.
We went and saw it. Oh, no. We rented it? Okay.
And I think no amount of drugs and alcohol can make it okay enough to watch. And Rachel Weisz was in it, and she's like a real actress. Mila Kunis is questionable as far as acting, but I love
James
her.
Franco though.
Yeah,
I am such a fan of him.
That movie was a pile of trash.
There wasn't enough magic.
It's trash.
You've got to have the fantasy. I'm sorry, it's
trash.
Recycling.
Trash. It was so bad.
Compost that shit.
Yeah. And then this is not a particular production of The Wizard of Oz, but it cannot go unnoticed. The Dark Side of Oz / Dark Side of the Rainbow. Are you familiar with that, Mickey? When you pair up The Wizard of Oz with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, yes!
Have you done that?
I've never successfully done it. We did try once in college, but we couldn't. I don't know. We were high.
I did it a couple of times in college and had great success with it. My thoughts on it are that it's a really good experience. It's especially, for me, it's a very college experience. You should definitely just give it a go. I've read that it doesn't work as well with the DVD copies. You really need that VHS copy to make it happen.
Which is getting harder and harder to find. First of all, a VCR. Hardly anyone owns one of those.
They're going to cost $1,000 or something.
That's so insane.
But you should definitely do it, and it's a really memorable experience. You should enjoy it, and the way that you think you should enjoy it, which is in a cloud of smoke.
Oh,
it's like the only way to enjoy it.
Maybe some little strips of acid.
Whether or not you buy into like the validity of the situation, it's a beautiful experience.
You mean whether or not you agree that the album was written to be played
which
with it?
Pink Floyd has openly said it was not written to line up to it.
It's quite a coinkadink, isn't it?
It's a beautiful coincidence, if nothing else. And I was reading that, like, what's it called when, like, you're not sure that something is true, but you're like, yeah, whatever, I believe it. Like, the power of... It's like, I don't know. It's
gullibility?
Like... No, well, pretty much.
Oh, wait. Like, the power of a word kind of like persuasion?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
like, because you want it to be true, you're like, yeah, it lines up, even though you like...
Suggestibility.
Yes, the power of, like, suggestibility. Yes. So, like, you want it to line up, so you pick out the moments where it does line up, and you're like, look at that thing, it matches perfectly. And then you ignore the next half hour where it doesn't make sense. Maybe that happens.
Bias, yeah.
Yes, but it's beautiful and I love it. And it's so cool to watch it that way. And I'm really glad that, like, that's a part of my experience of The Wizard of Oz.
I wish I could have successfully done it. I would love to. I mean, you know what? I'm not dead quite yet.
No,
There's
you got
still
some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, so... Are those all the adaptations you have?
That's all that I wrote. There's many more.
Well, you totally didn't mention Wizard of Oz on Ice. What are you thinking? Supposedly that was actually really great. Obviously, I never saw that, but that was like a huge event, girl. That was like Justin Bieber.
Well, that sounds cool, and I would go watch it.
And then I also read about this graphic novel called The Giant Garden of Oz, which is set in Oz, but is like a dark thriller.
Oh.
Now, I've never read this. I don't know anything about it, but I just heard about it, and I was like, that sounds great.
That sounds awesome.
Girl, that mushes together a lot of our favorite things. You love murder and mystery and crime.
And gardens.
And you love gardens. And I love Oz and... masturbation.
Yeah.
I can do that while reading anything, though,
yes,
to
girl.
be honest. Yeah.
Okay. So, to close up this section of discussion, I have written just a couple of, like, movie facts that I thought were really interesting.
Okie dokies.
So I'm going to just go through those. Bert Lair's Cowardly Lion costume weighed almost 100 pounds.
Yes.
And was made of real lion pelts.
What?
Yes, Queen.
I did not know that.
Real
that's
lion
horrible.
pelts. Well, that's 1939 for
Simon the Lion. No.
Oh no, what was that one lion?
I don't know. Shot by a rich white man. That's what his name was.
Yes, girl.
Edgar the Lion. I remember his name. That's horrible. Now, I did know that was a very heavy costume. You know, it's really sad though, because not only was that a mega heavy costume, but Bert Lahr, it was like a small to medium-sized man. He was twitchy, neurotic, weird, and awkward.
Oh, okay.
Is what I've picked up from, like, interviews about him and him talking about. He was, like, twitchy. He was, like, a twitchy type person. So to put that poor man lion pelt, that's cruelty.
Girl, and on top of that, the early Technicolor process required more light than a normal film. So the set temperatures often exceeded 100 degrees. And he was in real straight up lion skin. That's horrible.
Straight up. Mm-hmm. Straight up lions. Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson's. Another fact that's probably not surprising but interesting is that Judy Garland was forced to wear a corset in order to appear more childlike for her role because she was a very shapely young woman.
She and I have that in common.
Your grandmother and I do too.
What?
That's like a quote from something. Like,
okay.
Your grandmother and I have that in common. Oh, it's from Mean Girls.
Oh.
She's like...
Oh, that
Tina Fey.
You know what? I hate that scene. I think Tina Fey takes it one joke too further.
You think so?
Too far. Too further.
Too further.
You know her.
It's further.
She further.
Let's see. Oh, this is really cool. The shabby coat that Frank Morgan, who's the guy who played the professor / the Wiz, wore was a thrift store purchase by the costume department, but it was later discovered that the jacket actually belonged to the Oz author L. Frank Baum, and his name was sewn inside of the garment the way that like old school ladies would do.
Girl.
Isn't that crazy?
That is magic there.
That's fucking crazy.
Do you think you can name the 5 characters that Frank Morgan played in the movie? Because he plays 5 separate characters.
Oh, okay. He played like the guy in the beginning who did the crystal ball.
Professor Marvel.
Oh, okay. Professor Marvel.
Who's creepy, by the way. But
he played the wizard.
Uh-huh.
He played...
I'm giving hints.
He's trying to give me hints, but what's a crybaby that plays the drums? He's one of the marchers?
No, that was 2 separate people. I'm sorry. So, Crybaby first, he plays the gatekeeper guy.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sure. Yeah.
So, or I guess not gatekeeper, like the guard.
He goes to like the smaller window?
Yeah, okay, he also plays that guy. So it's actually
okay.
so he plays the guy at the gate. That's the first guy who's like, ring the bell. It's plain as the nose on my face. But there's no fucking sign there, right? He plays that guy. And then he plays, that was me being a cart driver with a horse. The horse of a different color cart driver. He plays him. And then he plays the bodyguard guy for the wizard who cries when Dorothy's talking about not being able to go home. And he's like, please don't say anymore. I'll let you in. He plays 5 different characters.
Crazy. I definitely didn't notice all of those. I mean, I noticed...
me neither.
I noticed the professor and the wizard, and then everything else was a crapshoot.
Exactly. I don't think I knew that as a child. It was only as an adult when I was researching it. For some reason, this isn't the first time I've researched The Wizard of Oz, by the way. I got mega deja vu while doing this.
Nice.
I don't know. There's like...
It's just interesting information.
I guess probably so. Yeah, I had a bookmark about The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, fuck.
I did. Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
Isn't that crazy, though? The coat, like, it belonged to the author?
That's legit magic.
That's crazy.
That's white magic.
In the scene where the snow fell on the poppy field, they used chrysotile asbestos fibers. That's the carcinogenic stuff.
Girl.
They just dumped that all over Dorothy and those people.
That is not okay.
Well,
that's not something you wake up from.
Once again, that's 1939.
Girl.
Many of the scenes featuring the Wicked Witch of the West had to be cut and edited because they felt like, when they condensed it down, it was too frightening for children.
I could see that. She's scary as fuck. Margaret Hamilton?
I also read, this isn't part of this, but I read that the lady who played her, that Margaret lady, she was only like 36, and they had to do her up to look real old and grouchy, and the lady who played Glinda was like 54.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And they did her the opposite way.
Yeah,
that's
girl.
like...
She looked great.
It's kind of, you know what that reminds me of? Is like in the morning, I try to up myself down.
God damn it, Mick.
What? I'm just saying. It's like, I'm so naturally
slut.
beautiful. And you, on the other hand, have to work
Hours
really
of
hard.
Makeup.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love your pink dress.
Thank you. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. It is Wednesday. MGM paid L. Frank Baum a whopping $75,000 for the film rights to his book, which in the early 1900s was a lot of money.
Yeah, he died rich as fuck, no doubt.
And then I just wrote the film was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, but lost Best Picture to Gone with the Wind.
Boo.
Boo.
I mean, I do love Gone with the Wind too, but boo.
Boo, you whore. So that's all that I have. Do you have any other stray observations?
I've got one more stray. We should put it down together right now. Do you know how many directors there were?
No, but I'm going to go with 3.
Good guess. 5
what?
altogether.
That's crazy.
Including Victor Fleming. He's considered to be the main director, and he also directed. Do you have any guesses? Classic movie came out the same year.
Gone with the Wind.
You got it.
Oh,
he also
really?
directed Gone with the Wind.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That was a big year for him.
I know, right? He had decided to take over The Wizard of Oz. I think 2 or 3 directors had come before him, but he was really he was there for a large chunk of it and was very formative. And then he got pulled away from The Wizard of Oz because there was some shit going down on the Gone with the Wind set, and he had to get in there. I forget exactly what. But literally, Gone with the Wind stole him away. And then he was the credited main director for both of those movies that year.
Shit, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, I lied. I actually have two straight things I want to talk about. Can we just talk for a moment about Judy Garland?
Yeah.
This poor baby, her life was hard. I don't know how much you read about Judy Garland, but like things were not easy for her. Like it was a difficult go of it. So she originally, her name was, did I write this? Oh, I didn't write down what her original name was.
I bet her original name was Morgan Messick.
It was something Gum. She was like Bobby Gum. And she like changed her name to Judy Garland.
Yeah, just good choice, Judy.
Judy was 16 when she got The Wizard of Oz, which was like her big kind of breakout role, of course. And between that time and her death, which was at the age of 47, she was married 5 different times.
Oh, jeez.
And she had children by 2 different men. She has a daughter that's very famous now, Liza Minnelli.
With a Z!
Girl. Which I think a lot of people actually probably don't know, because it's not like... I mean, it's kind of well known, but like, it's not like Liza Minnelli runs around like talking about how her mother is Dorothy.
I definitely think the millennial generation does not much know it. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Liza Minnelli is, though. She's too old for them.
Girl, that's sad. She's in Arrested Development. They should watch that.
I know. No, they're too busy fucking inhaling Ariana Grande or some bullshit.
That's true. It's true. Judy Garland tried to kill herself many times. She had multiple suicide attempts over the years, including this one time that she supposedly tried to slit her throat after she lost a movie role. But then I read later that like her publicist was like, girl, she barely cut herself. It was like a Band-Aid. But still the thought that she would even like cut her neck at all and like
that's
sadness.
Such a like vicious way to kill yourself.
Yeah. She was a very heavy drug user. She was constantly on barbiturates. She took morphine for an extended amount of time. She never could go to sleep without sleep aids, which of course is how Marilyn Monroe died. She was...
And Heath Ledger. I know that's much sooner, or much more recent.
It was just not a good time for women. She was constantly on yo-yo diets and stayed on the barbiturates to stay thin because she constantly had this pressure of being like a thin, pretty person.
I'm so proud of you for throwing off that pressure, Morgan, just being yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, this is a weird side note that I didn't put in this notes, but I remember reading that in the movie, they started out putting her in like a blonde wig and like, they had this like whole styling for her.
I read about that.
And then like later they were like, it's not working. And they went back and did her like naturally, which is much better, I think.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, she's not like a shocking beauty in the movie, like stereotypically, though she's a beautiful person,
she's beautiful.
You know, but she's not like she's not like a Marilyn Monroe, and she shouldn't be. That's the thing, is she shouldn't be a Marilyn Monroe.
You know what she got, the stigma she got from this movie is that she's the girl next door, and that she spent years trying to shake it off. It was hard for her to get serious, like, acting roles because of her role as Dorothy, which it kind of gave her everything, but also limited her prospects. So that's tough.
It's that question of, if we're on Gilligan's Island, are you Ginger or are you Mary Ann, right? And
she was Mary Ann. Yeah. She wanted to be a Ginger, though.
They're both.
She wanted to.
Yeah, well, she wanted to be both. And that's the thing, is people want to put you in a box. She
underwent years of electroshock therapy for depression.
I did not know
Isn't that horrifying?
That is horrible.
Oh,
that's why she looked rough near the end, girl. But why is electroshock therapy a thing? Like, get rid of that shit.
I mean, it's mostly gone now.
No, they still use it, girl.
But
that's still like, I don't know what I think for like deep schizophrenia and stuff, but some of the Pray the Gay Away camps still do
well, those people are
therapy.
Mad crazy.
Those are crazy people.
Those are mad crazy people.
That's so scary.
So she finally died in 1969 at the age of 47 from a massive overdose of barbiturates. But it was ruled not a suicide because the buildup of drugs in her stomach was so steady that it appeared that she accidentally took like one handful of pills too many.
That's so sad.
Yeah, so it wasn't like she ate a bunch to die at once. She just accidentally throughout the week just had too much, which is terrifying. Yeah, so she really felt like she required lots of drugs to function. And she was really notorious for being like terrible on the set. She would be really late when she was cast as role. She would be late for like screen for rehearsals, so she often was like fired from films for just like performing, you know? She was just on drugs and, like, she was in a bad place. And that's what they say a lot about Marilyn Monroe, too. I mean, she was heavily medicated and she couldn't keep her shit together enough to get to work either.
There were actresses from the period who managed to avoid that, but you know what? I have a lot of sympathy for that. I feel like had I been a woman in that time, I would have fallen into a very similar. I have no doubt because there was so much pressure.
Yeah, and she was so young.
And she was a baby.
And her whole life changed when she got the Wizard of Oz. I mean, she like that's when she first got into like serious relationships with men, and she would date her directors and marry them and divorce, and like it was just a very tumultuous life for her. So poor Boo Boo.
Yes, we love her dog.
So I had one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Okie dokie.
Are you familiar with the theory / conspiracy of the Munchkin suicide?
I've heard of it. Even in high school, once we tried to find the supposed like swinging Munchkin, but please refresh my memory.
So it has. Let me start with this. Been disproved that there was no Munchkin suicide.
Sure.
There was no stagehand caught in the background of a scene. Supposedly it was a scene of like a bird taking flight that was like in the background, but also like coincided with some other set things to look like something swinging.
Somewhere around the time when the witch confronts them for the first time in the forest, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in the forest
there.
along the
I think it's like
road. Yeah. So it's kind of just a scene in the background, and I went to Snopes, which I felt like I was so in high school for doing that, to like see what they had to say about it. I trust
Snopes though, girl. I trust them.
Yes, true life.
Heartfelt.
So Snopes was like, yes, girl, people started rumors that it was a Munchkin suicide. And actually, Snopes said that it was a marketing team from like a re-release of The Wizard of Oz that started it.
Right, that's brilliant.
Maybe they didn't start it, but they perpetuated it to kind of get people to be like, oh, we need to like buy that so we can rewatch it. And like somebody killed herself and they're in the background. So it was sort of like turned into a marketing deal and then kind of escalated to what it is today. Supposedly it's nothing, but I'm gonna stick with the conspiracy theorist and say, girl, there's something shady about that scene.
Girl, that ain't no bird. That's a very small dead man.
Look closely.
So speaking of things we may have known about The Wizard of Oz, I have another top 5 list for you.
Ooh, I love a listicle.
Are you ready? Okay. This is the top 5 scenes that were cut from the movie.
Oh, okay.
There's more than 5, actually, but I picked the tops. Number 5. The twista horrifyingly envelops the farmhouse. So,
oh, yeah.
It's a long scene. It's like 20 seconds long. And so the tornado just coming closer and closer to the house until finally the view of the camera is obscured by dark clouds it's scary.
That's scary.
As someone who grew up with tornadoes.
Oh, did you get to watch the cutscene? Did you have any extras?
Ooh. I've got cut and deleted scenes.
Yeah, the tornado stuff really hits close to home for us because in Arkansas, it's part of like the tornado belt, along with like Oklahoma and Kansas.
And Texas. Texas gets a shit
well, North Texas mostly.
Yes.
But yes, so I've seen plenty of tornadoes firsthand with my eyeballs. So like, yeah, it always spoke a lot to me.
I'm glad they cut the scene because it's too dark to be at the beginning. Like, honestly, it scared me. Number 4. When things are flying past Dorothy in the tornado, you know, she looks like the one that says the funny stuff. I do too. They cut, a snippet of a man on a stool milking a cow.
Interesting.
It's kind of ridiculous. So, like, you see a cow go past. You see the men in the canoe, right? You see the Wicked Witch, a grandma in her rocking chair. But they cut. It's like a cow surrounded by chickens and a man on a stool. And they all are somehow level and just floating in the tornado. And he's, like, milking the cow.
Maybe they were like, it's too much.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Because it looked ridiculous. Yeah. Number 3. The Scarecrow dance scene from when she first meets the Scarecrow is actually, like, 2 to 3 times the length.
Oh.
Yes, because...
That seems unnecessary.
Well, it was a bit, yes. Well, you know, the man, Ray Bolger, who plays the Scarecrow, he was a very accomplished dancer, especially a tap dancer.
Okay.
And he had very sort of like, I'd call it like an acrobatic style, right? And so he does this long extended scene where all of the fences are like elastic or rubber, so he bounces off all of the fences, and he flies twice in this cut scene. does he do it? He somehow gets thrown into the air, and because he's a scarecrow, right? He can just like fly into the air, and it happens twice. I'm glad they cut it. It was much too long. I hated it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I love the Scarecrow. He's my favorite of the companions.
Oh, interesting.
Personally. Mm-hmm. But anyway. And you could read into that because I have in my life multiple times fallen in love with straight men.
Yeah.
I got 2 gay characters to choose from. Why go for the straight man? I don't know, girl.
Well,
I cannot help it.
He's got a certain je ne sais quoi.
He
or
does.
Je ne sais straw.
Get out of my house. That was horrible. So Over the Rainbow, there is actually a reprise of Over the Rainbow. And this was heartbreaking. You know that scary scene where she does hear Aunt Em in the crystal ball when she's like in the castle?
And she's crying.
Yes. She sings a reprise of Over the Rainbow that's like interrupted by sobbing. And I am so glad they cut it because it is sad. Heartbreaking.
Aww.
Yeah, because like, Over the Rainbow is this beautiful dream she had as a quote-unquote child, right?
And it's
before
like
she
her
started this
broken
whole
dream.
Yes, and like no one can save her, and like Over the Rainbow is also horrible. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry right now. Like it's so sad. It was so sad. It actually brought me to tears while I was watching it. And then number 1! Oh, we're here already. There is a whole song and dance that was filmed for the movie and then cut. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's fascinating. So it's called the Jitterbug.
Okay.
The Jitterbug. Dun, dun. So it's like, the Jitterbug was a dance that was popular back then. So the Jitterbug was going to be an animated henchman of the Wicked Witch, and there's still a clip left in the movie. Animated, yes! I so wish it had been included, but it may have been because of budget that it was cut. But yeah, it was going to be the only, like, animated thing that was drawn in.
Okay.
And do you remember, you may not, because it's easy to miss, but in the movie, at some point when they're making their way to her castle, she's like, I don't know who she's talking to. Herself, I guess. She ain't got no friends.
Crazy.
Yeah, she is deeply. And the Wicked Witch is like, ooh, they're getting closer. But I've sent my flying monkeys, and I've also sent along a bug to slow them down. It's like in the movie. It was the Jitterbug that she's talking about. And what
But then
happens,
it never happened?
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why they left that in. Maybe editing, I don't know, something. But the Jitterbug in this scene stings them, and they're forced to dance the Jitterbug. It's a crazy scene.
Interesting.
The Jitterbug. And then one of the really good parts about it is that, of course, Scarecrow and Dorothy dance together. And then guess who else dances together? The old gay couple. Yes! And they're like doing the Jitterbug and like holding hands and dancing and twirling in circles. I'm not upset it was cut, but it is, I think it's kind of a loss. I think it's a bit of a loss.
That is so, okay, I need to see like all of those scenes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that happen.
The DVD. Yes, I'll send it with you tonight. Okay, so that's it for me, Morgie.
Awesome.
Do you have anything else before we take a little journey to Game Corner?
I have nothing else.
You haven't told me how much you love me recently.
Moving on, I really think we should go to the Game Corner.
The Game Corner.
Playing games. We're going to make a real theme song and like put it in one day for the Game Corner.
We were talking about doing that.
We're going to do that. It's going to happen. So, why don't you kick us off in the Game Corner?
Ooh, I'm so excited too. So I pulled, now games are really your forte, Morgan. You're really talented at them.
I'm so talented.
The thing is, you're good at playing games.
Oh.
But I'm real, girl. I'm real. What you see is what you get.
Just like Gyro, you're real.
I'm real.
And I'm a player.
Fake ass bitch.
I'm a player.
Two-faced motherfucking fake ass bitch. Okay. So
that was deeply hurtful.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean a word of that. Except maybe the bitch part.
Except for all of it.
No. Okay, so this game, my love, is called Oz or Other.
Okay, and I love that title.
Thanks very much.
On fleek.
It is a game in which I tell you about 2 characters, and you tell me which one's from Oz and which one's from Other.
Okay.
And then if you don't know, I'll let you know what's from. Okay? Okay, so number 1. The Patchwork Girl, who is made from a patchwork quilt by a magician. Okay? Oz or Other.
Other. Oh, I have to tell you
I'm
later?
going to give you 2. I'm going to give you 2, and then one will be Oz and one will be Other.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And then the Undersea Gal is a female sea creature with a dark sense of style. Which one's Oz?
Which one's sea creature? Okay, I think the sea one is Other, and the Patchwork Girl is Oz, because I don't remember, like, a sea in The Wizard of Oz.
Absolutely, you're totally right. It's surrounded on all three sides by an impassable
Girl,
desert.
but I don't remember a Patchwork Girl.
So she comes in later in the Oz series.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that far.
She proves to be too saucy to be a servant, the magician servant, and she always speaks in these kind of irritating rhymes. The Patchwork Girl. She's a relatively large character later on in the series. And do you know what movie or book The Undersea Gal is from?
Oh, Undersea by Ursula Le Guin?
Really good guess. It's actually from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh.
The Undersea Gal. You know, she has like the things on the side of her face.
Vaguely.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I once did a costume that was inspired by her.
Oh, nice. That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, thank you. You're in a kind mood today.
I don't know. I'm just nice. It's been a good week. I guess we're going on vacation in 2 weeks.
That's true. Woo woo. We've also had a
whole bottle of wine.
Yeah, that does help, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes the edge off.
Okay, next up. Henry Rush the Beetle, who attended the spelling bee and danced at the Harvest Festival, or Professor H.M. Wogglebug, T.E., in which the T.E. stands for thoroughly educated and the H.M. stands for highly magnified.
Is that second one Oz and the first one is Other?
You got it!
I like all of the details of the second one. That's great.
So he is actually like a mainish character later on, and he's just a bug. Professor Wogglebug, he's so full of himself, very pompous. If we were going along with that kind of populism reading, he says something about the educated elite, because he's a damn fool. But he's called T.E., thoroughly educated, because he spent, when he was actually still a normal-sized beetle, he lived underneath a schoolhouse floor, so he started learning then. And then he became highly magnified, became larger, so he's like man-sized, and he runs the Royal Athletic College of Oz, and he's a dick pig, I think. He talks a lot about like, ooh, the young men running in their shorts and all this stuff. Do you know what Henry Rush the Beetle is from?
Charlotte's Web.
Oh, that's such a good guess. He is the most minor of minor characters from the house at Pooh Corner. He's literally just mentioned a few times in the series.
Winnie the Pooh? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, don't know him at all.
I wouldn't have known that either. I don't remember him. I tried to make it hard though, like a bug to a bug.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good.
Okay, so, next up, Oz or Other. TikTok. A copper man who runs by clockwork and runs down at inopportune times. Or Reepicheep, leader of the Talking Mice.
Oh, both of those people are so familiar. So is the second one from Oz, the mice person?
Really good guess, but no.
Well, it was one choice or the other, that's sweet.
It was still a good guess.
They're both like really familiar though.
Well, Reepicheep is from Narnia.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's the mouse who goes when they do the Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He's like my favorite Narnia character.
Word.
No big deal. He sells to the ends of the world. No big. And then TikTok is exactly what he sounds like. He's like a clockwork man. He's actually from the neighboring land of, I don't know if it's pronounced Eve or Ev, but it's like a neighbor of Oz. And he becomes important later in the books.
Okay.
I think he chills with Betsy Bobbin, who's like the new Dorothy in a way.
Sure.
Cool. Okay, so you've got 1 out of 3 so far wrong.
Well,
I should have done that positively. You 2 out of 3 so far right. Good for you. I'm an asshole. Okay. Jack Pumpkinhead, made to scare an old witch, or Triss Marigold, a sorceress who loves fire magic.
That one is Oz.
And you think Jack Pumpkinhead's something else?
Is he the Nightmare Before Christmas?
I knew this was gonna get you. You fell in my trap. Jack Skellington.
Oh, yeah.
But they sometimes call him the
Pumpkin King.
Yes, exactly. Jack Pumpkinhead's from Oz.
Oh, I fucked it up. That's what you're saying.
Yes, but no shade. Jack Pumpkinhead, Ozma, who like,
my daughter.
Rules
my firstborn
Oz?
Daughter in 10 years.
Exactly. You should name
Ozma.
her Ozma. It's a great name.
That is a great name.
She is, stolen from the throne. And for many years, like while the Wicked Witch is like fucking shit up, the Wicked Witch of the North, her name is like Mozambi or something. She makes Ozma think she's a little boy, first of all, gender fuck. Yes, a little transgender life here, a spell going on. And then Ozma accidentally brings to life Jack Pumpkinhead. Well, she makes Jack Pumpkinhead to scare the evil witch, who's like also her guardian. But then the witch brings Jack Pumpkinhead to life, I think, or maybe Ozma. Anyway, the point is, very important character.
So the rest of the series is trippy AF, is what you're saying.
It's all trippy, yes.
And they're all pretty short books.
They're all very readable, and they're all standalone books, too, which is a real plus of the series.
All this like, everything you're saying is really making me, like, regret my life choices of not having read all of them.
They're so good.
And, like, maybe I'll do it.
Every book after the first is just as inventive, I think. I mean, there are some stumbles. Some of them you may like less than others. There's one in which the daughter of the rainbow, Shaggy Man, who has a magnet that makes people love him, even though he's like generally a homeless man, and a few other people ride on a ship, a flying ship across the impassable desert that bounds Oz on all four sides. It's my favorite of all the Oz books. It's so fucking good, Morgan. Anyway. Last one.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, Triss Marigold's from The Witcher 3.
The video game?
I ran out of ideas. I couldn't think of it.
No, girl. You got me.
Last one. The hungry tiger who longs to eat a fat baby, but his conscience won't allow it. His conscience, I should say. Or Bill the lizard, a groundskeeper. Oz or other?
It's the first one, Oz.
Yes. Do you know what Bill the Lizard's from?
Fuck no, girl.
It's from Alice in Wonderland. He's the groundskeeper for the White Rabbit. You know when she gets real big in the White Rabbit's house and like her elbow's out there? Bill the Lizard is running around with the White Rabbit, and then he goes down the chimney and she knocks him back up and he flies away.
Oh, yeah.
He's a minor character. But the Hungry Tiger, fucked up, girl. The Hungry Tiger and the Cowardly Lion together are like the bodyguard for Ozma, ruler of Oz. So they're both important, but the Hungry Tiger, he's like, we could do a whole podcast episode about him, because he's about like what your actual bestial nature wants to do and if you're able to overcome it.
Girl, that game was good and heavy, and I lost. I lost.
Well, you got 2 out of 5 right.
You know how I feel about losing.
Well, I would think you'd be
good.
comfortable with it as much as you do it.
All I do is win, no matter what. Speaking of winning, okay, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for putting that game together.
My pleasure.
Beautiful and inspiring me to read the rest of the Oz series for sure.
So worth it.
Let's take a moment to, this podcast episode is breaking up a big endeavor we're doing, which is covering the Harry Potter series. So let's honor that once again by, let's just sort the main characters into a Harry Potter house.
So doable.
And I haven't done this ahead of time, so we're going to do it together organically. Okay. Let's start with Dorothy. Where's our baby girl go?
I mean, shady or not, she's a Hufflepuff.
You think she's a Hufflepuff? Okay.
You could make the argument for Gryffindor.
Yes, you could.
I think loyalty is like her main trait, though.
I think you're true. I think she's super a Hufflepuff. Yeah. The only argument that she's a Gryffindor is that she likes to go on an adventure. Which, girl?
That's true.
Whifflepuffs will go on an adventure. Cedric Diggory,
he sure
went
enough
on one.
did.
He didn't
went
make
on
it.
his final adventure.
He
sure enough. My son! This is my son!
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he's dead.
Cedric's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. Okay, true that. Okay, what about the Scarecrow?
Well, I think it's funny because I think that
they're incomplete people.
Yeah, they're not. Well, later in the series, I guess they become a little bit more real, but they're not very consistent characters. I guess I'm going to say Ravenclaw because he's looking for a brain.
Yep, I agree.
He's smart, right?
My first thought,
That's kind of given. What do you think about the Tin Man, though? I think he's harder. Significantly harder.
Tough. Because it seems like he would want to be in Gryffindor if he's looking for that heart, like that centering sort of situation. But he's like also maybe a Hufflepuff because he's kind of like ditzy and like, whatever.
Loyal and
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you on a journey. Go with me here.
I'm there for it.
His whole thing with wanting to have a heart is selfish. He wants to feel, right? Like, that's his whole thing is he's like, I can't feel and this is really shitty for me. He doesn't, in my opinion, want to love, because of the good it does other people. He wants it for himself.
You think he belongs in Slytherin?
I think he's a Slytherin.
You know, I'm fine with that. He can live there. He's certainly the right color.
Yeah. He fits right in color scheme-wise. And he's kind of a shady queen.
And he'd look really good in deep green.
Yeah.
In the Emerald City, he shines.
Nick Chopper, that's his real name.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, let's do that.
I don't know. That's my thought.
That leaves the Cowardly Lion.
Cowardly Lion didn't get into Hogwarts.
He's in the Forbidden Forest, but he's, like, scared and hunkering, like, under every tree trunk.
And wouldn't you if you were surrounded by Aragog and his...
Girl! I'd be hiding from those fucking centaurs.
Yeah! Girl, huge dicks.
I'm on... Yeah. I think we've already talked about this, but in season 2 of Magicians, there's a moment where there is a doctor. This is not really a spoiler. There's a moment where there's a doctor that is a centaur, and he's, like, working on somebody, and Margot and Elliot are overlooking, and it's very serious. It's a very serious moment. And Margot looks at Elliot, and she says, I know we're being very serious right now, but that doctor's dick is huge. And you look over, and his, like, horse dick is just, like, hanging out, and Elliot, like, not wanting to, like, break the moment, just like shakes his head yes, like in acknowledgement, and then he does like this little face, like he was like, yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah. Love them. Speaking of, season 2 of The Magicians is over now.
Oh, are you completely caught up?
Yes, Queen. I need you to get there.
I know.
You're not even started.
I haven't even
It's
started
only like 12 episodes.
2. Yeah. I'll probably wait till it comes on Netflix, honestly, at this point.
It was a good, very not like life-changing, but the book, it's very different. It's all kind of new.
Excited.
It's really good. I like it. It's good.
I do love Centaur Dick, too. I'm always down for Centaur Dick.
You and Marco, she's your girl.
Fire-ins. Yeah, I told you she's my favorite.
She's your girl. Let's sort the wizard.
Oh, yes. Oh, wizard. Slytherin.
That old lion-ass motherfucker.
Cunning as shit, manipulative, ain't messed up about lying to everybody about anything. Yeah.
Okay, so that was an easy question, but I'm going to hit you with a couple of other questions that might not be so easy.
Okay.
We're going to play a little round of which one?
Which one?
That's right. Which one?
Which one?
Which one?
Which one?
Oh no! The weather is blowing in. You're gonna get swept away by a storm, a tornado, or a hurricane. Which one?
Tornado, definitely. Girl, you know where I came from.
Girl, you're gonna die either way.
Yeah, I'm dead either way. And while this weather is blowing in, am I getting blown? Because if I'm about to die,
if there's that man who's milking the cows, he's got a mouth that's free, girl.
Yes! Girl, I mean, we're talking about Centaur Dick. That cow ain't doing nothing. That's horrifying. That made my dick hurt, actually.
That's gross.
Jokes, yes.
Okay.
Especially a cow. That's like one of the least sexy animals.
Oh, but they're so sweet. They're like dogs.
Yeah. Stupid.
And precious.
Oh, not that dogs are... Never mind.
Shoe time! Ruby red slippers or sparkly silver slippers? Which one?
It's actually quite difficult, but I'm going to go with ruby
because
of connotation. But
all day.
In real life, if I had to choose between like an article of clothing, it was going to be like deep dark red, like a ruby red, or like a silver. I'd probably actually pick a silver because I do love to wear silver.
I look good in red because I'm a harlot, so I think in any situation, red is my choice. Also, silver washes me out, but I look good in gold. Gold.
You look okay. Yeah.
Shade.
You're
on a journey, but you can only bring one friend along. Wah, wah, wah. Who do you choose? The Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, or Toto?
Oh.
Which one?
Okay, so no pets on journey. You know, I'm not a dog person. Love Toto, but not Cowardly Lion's a no, because my least favorite, useless asshole. Where you don't tell me where the journey's to, right?
No, I don't.
Because if it's somewhere where it's going to be a lot wet, I don't want to take Tim and he get rusty.
If you're looking for the destination, you're not enjoying the journey.
Okay, says the girl who plans every moment.
You lay off the spreadsheet.
I'm just saying. I'm going to take the Scarecrow because he's slightly more useful in an emergency, and you never know what might happen on vacay.
Girl, I'm going to bring Toto.
You would.
I would, and I will.
I do love Toto. And Toto's like maybe the smartest one of them.
Girl, he found the wizard.
Girl, he did.
Did that Scarecrow find the wizard?
He also knew that Cowardly Lion was a coward, and he said, I'm gonna attack this motherfucker.
Yeah, he
right?
did.
Even though Cowardly Lion's 20 times bigger.
He's such a good boy.
He a good boy.
You're in a pickle. You have to identify who is least trustworthy. The wizard or the Wicked Witch of the West? Which one?
A wizard. Because the wizard lied to my face. The Wicked Witch did never lie to me.
She told you she a mean-ass bitch.
She said, I'm mad at you. You stole the shoes. I'm going to fuck you up. And I'm going to fuck up your little dog. She did never lie to
your
nobody.
Little dog too.
Yes, exactly. She told you every
There
minute.
was no between the lines. There was not going to be like at the last minute. She's like, and your dog? She's like, from the beginning, your dog is dead.
She literally she typed that shit up and she said, I just want you to know, swish across the table. This is how I'm going to get you.
What's happening? Okay.
Yeah, but that old wizard, he's just an old white man. And just like all old white men, he'd lie right to your face.
Roommates. It's the start of your next year in college. Who do you want for a roommate? Glinda or Dorothy?
Glinda, because
she
one,
magic as fuck.
Yeah. But two, even though of course I love Dorothy, how can you not? If I actually met a Dorothy person, especially in college, I'd be like, girl, you are boring. Live a little.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
She's a little too basic.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
Real estate is a good investment, and it's time to get in on the ground floor. Do you buy a home in Munchkin Land or in the Emerald City? Which one? Because people, right now we're in a city-centric society, but every now and then it starts to reverse and people look to buy out in the country. So, where's a good investment for you?
Well, this is very interesting because, let's see, Munchkin Land is to the east of Oz. You've got swamps to the south, mountains to the west, and to the north, I think, is a pretty great country, like general rural. I don't really want to live out in the farmland. Out in Munchkin country, even though it is stunning. I wonder what happened. Well, after the Wizard of Oz leaves, then Ozma comes back. But if that timeline wasn't followed, it might be scary to be in the Emerald City. I mean, there are poppy fields and forest full of monsters all around that place. I think I would live in the Emerald City because I like to be fancy and I want people to put bows in my hair.
I agree, actually. Yeah. And also, I kind of think this is not a reason to live there, but I think of the people who live in the Emerald City as being comparable to the people in the Hunger Games who live in the capital. Yes, They're very, eccentric and, made up and colorful and, ridiculous. And as much as, those people, whatever, but, I kind of want to be one of them.
I mean, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
You know what I really want to do is I want to live in the Wiz Emerald City.
Oh, yeah.
Where the music stops and the colors change. I'm so into that shit. Yes, that's where I want to be.
Legit.
But if I can't be there, I'll be in the Wizard of Oz Emerald City.
All right, girl. Okay, we just have a couple more games here to wrap it up.
Okay, gird your loins for games.
Let's just play a little Two Truths and a Lie.
Ooh, funny. You should ask to play that because I've got some prepared.
Tell me, you lead.
You ready for this?
Where you lead, I will follow.
Just like a woman. Ho! Okay, I might die tonight.
10 feet behind and silently.
Yeah, exactly. My handmaiden. Okay. First one. I think I'll miss you most of all. The very famous quote from Dorothy to the Scarecrow.
Which also rude.
Very rude, yes. Is a holdover from an earlier version of the story that included a love story between Dorothy and Hunk, which is the farmhand name of the guy who plays Scarecrow.
Hunk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of a lover.
That's a good name, right? And he is, I think, the cutest of the three. No one asked me. It's fine. Number 2, possibility, truth or lie. Jack Haley, who plays the Tin Man in the movie, was actually the second person cast as the Tin Man. Okay, possibility. And then third choice, Margaret Hamilton narrowly avoided being horribly disfigured when she got caught in a flame in the movie, when they were filming the movie. And her makeup was copper-based. And once it got caught on fire, it would have continued to eat into her skin if they had left it on her. So it would have, like, eaten through her face.
So I know that one's true because I read that.
Yes. And I couldn't stop myself from giving all the detail because it's fascinating.
Yeah. What was the second one?
The second one was that Jack Haley, who plays the Tin Man in the movie, was actually the second person cast as the Tin Man.
Okay, I think the first one is the lie.
Really? Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You're wrong! You're broken!
It.
So, in fact, I think I'll miss you most of all, which many fans are like, why is she playing favorites at the end? Like, why is she doing this? It is because it's a holdover of an earlier script version in which she actually had, like, it was like an innocent love affair.
Because she's 16.
Exactly. But it was like a love affair with that character, right?
Oh, interesting.
So.
She fucked a scarecrow.
And she sure enough did, and who hasn't in their life? You know?
Girl,
I'm still, never mind. Anyway, so Jack Haley was not the second person cast as the Tin Man. He was actually the third.
Oh, shade.
Because originally, Ray Bolger, who plays the Scarecrow, was cast as the Tin Man. But he complained because he was like, nah, girl, like, I'm a really good dancer. Like, let me be the Scarecrow because the Tin Man hardly dances, right? Because he's so stiff. So then they said, okay, you know what? We're gonna switch you, Mr. Ray Bolger, with Buddy Ebsen, who originally was cast as the Scarecrow. Okay, so then Buddy Ebsen became the Tin Man. Ray Bolger, who we know as the Scarecrow, became that. But then Buddy Ebsen ended up in the hospital because they were using aluminum dust for his makeup, and he got in his lungs, and so he couldn't breathe. So he was, and then while he was in the hospital, they recast it with Jack Haley. Yeah.
Girl, they made so many shit like that. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's just like 14 writers and 5 different directors and 3 different Tin Men.
It's a mess. And they didn't make no money. I
no,
wonder why.
Girl. Well, there you go. Okay, Morgie. So I've stumped you with my brilliance.
Yes, you got me, girl. Okay, let me hit you with my 2 truths and a lie.
Okie dokies.
Okay. So, of all the Munchkin voices that you hear in The Wizard of Oz, only 2 of the people on set were actually the Munchkins that you hear.
Oh.
Okay? So only 2 of the Munchkins you're looking at.
There's a lot of Munchkins, though. How are only going to be 2?
Girl, only 2 of them.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a choice. L. Frank Baum got the name Oz from his file cabinet drawer, which was labeled O to Z.
I happen to know that is true, but let's go ahead and continue.
Possibility?
No, I mean, it's possible, yeah.
Okay. The Wizard was based on Thaddeus Fairbanks, who was an inventor that went missing in the mid-1800s during a storm.
Ooh.
Okay, so one of those.
No, it's interesting. That's the exact same thing that happened to my dad.
That's what your mom told you? Sure, baby.
Well, I know number 2 is true, because I've heard that. Number 1, I think it's actually more likely they didn't use any of the little people voices. They had very specific things that they needed. So I'm going to say number 1 is the falsehood.
You a stupid bitch.
Oh, why you say that to my face?
Girl, I made Thaddeus Fairbanks up. His old stupid ass.
I should have known that fake-ass name. This is the last time I ever trust you.
It's a real name that I found of a real person.
Oh, yeah. What does he do?
He was an inventor, but he did not go missing in the mid-1800s, and he, invented, some stupid thing that nobody cares about.
Oh, okay.
So for the Munchkins, they used voice actors to do voiceovers, but there were two Munchkins, the ones who handed her the flowers when she got in the cart. They said, "We thank you very sweetly for doing it very neatly," or something like that.
I remember that.
So those Munchkins were Pharrell. They were Pharrell, Farrell. They were Pharrell Williams.
I wish everyone was him. He's so sexy to me.
He is sexy. So you didn't nail it, but you're just like me because you're a loser.
Yes.
Love it. And
I also bleed out of one of my holes once a month.
Just like me.
Yeah, it's a different hole, but same diff.
Okay. So, after all of that, Okay, everyone loves The Wizard of Oz. Your grandma loves it. My grandma loves it. We love it. Scoop loves it. He's my dog. Everyone loves it. So, can you believe that there are still a couple of people out there that don't love it? It's crazy.
They're subhuman, reptilian.
But to be true, it was hard to find 1-star reviews for this.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It should be.
Difficult. But I did call 3 second opinions that differ from our glowing review of this beautiful America's fairy tale. Okay. 1 star. By Richard Oberlander, April 25th, 2015. He says, all caps, a waste of money. Really? I'm sure you paid like $4 for this movie. You think it was a waste of money? That's absurd.
Is that all he wrote?
That's all he wrote.
Oh, what a fucking asshole. That's not even a fucking review.
Oh, Dick Oberlander.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Dick.
Yeah, fuck you, guy. I hate you.
Okay. By Patty. 1 star. Sent it back. Was looking for the made-for-TV movie starring John Ritter. Period.
What movie starring John Ritter?
I guess there was a made-for-TV movie starring John Ritter.
This old crazy bitch.
Patty was trying to watch that shit.
What's that TV show that John Ritter was in?
Three's Company?
Was that John Ritter? Yeah. Well, she's a dumb bitch, because the only thing that's similar between Three's Company and The Wizard of Oz is there are 3 people involved.
Well, now you're thinking she confused Three's Company with The Wizard of Oz, which, Lord, I hope she did.
Maybe.
Dear sweet baby Lord Voldemort, I hope she did.
Ooh.
But, like, maybe there was a made-for-TV movie starring John Ritter that was The Wizard of Oz. But also, she a dumb bitch if she bought the wrong one.
Well, this is the classic. I hate her. What's her name? Patty?
Patty.
Patty, go suck an egg, you old stupid cunt.
Okay, one more. 1 star by Gus. I hate this movie. Have I been pranked? Don't even know how this showed up in my cart. All caps. I hate this movie. So he accidentally purchased. This is his subconscious telling him you need to rethink your feelings on The Wizard of Oz and just give it another go.
And probably he's once again a repressed homosexual.
Oh,
we come across a lot
He's
of those,
a friend of Dorothy.
Yeah.
He's trying to pretend like they frenemies.
I didn't even put it in my basket. I didn't put his dick in my ass. I slipped.
It's not me.
I slipped in. Yeah, please. I'm on to you, Gus.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Stupid asshole.
Okay, so frankly, those were really the only notable 1-star reviews out of
and they were hardly reviews; they were just trolls.
Out of like 5,500 reviews on Amazon, so pretty much back to that 99% approval rating. People love it. It's well left.
It's about time people agreed with me on something.
Yeah, sure, girl. Sure. Okay, so let's take you on one more journey to talk about what's coming up next week.
Ooh.
It's Content Club.
So excited for Content Club.
Club. Okay. So we got so into the
going
intro.
on the album, girl.
It's hitting gold.
So next week we're talking about Spirited Away.
Spirited Away is Miyazaki's beautiful, lovely anime adaptation of Alice in Wonderland that also incorporates a lot of other anime themes that are really prevalent and just general fantasy things.
I think most people agree, though of course it is debatable because he's put out so many gorgeous works.
Almost all of it is amazing.
Yeah, I would say pretty much across the board, except for Ponyo, but we can talk about that some other time.
I like Ponyo, but we'll shade it later.
And we'll shade you too while we're at it.
Ponyo, fishy in the sea.
Is that really how the song goes?
Yeah.
Indicative. But I think most people agree that Spirited Away is his masterpiece.
Yeah. And so we have a shared love because my first viewing of it was at Governor's School, which was that summer camp situation that we did in high school. And it was enlightening. I was already an anime fan, so it wasn't like my first anime foray. Please, girl. Okay. But it was my first Miyazaki film. So it opened a whole new door.
I'd never heard of Miyazaki before that.
Yeah. So we will be covering the greatness that is Spirited Away. So definitely
excited.
find a way to view that between now and then.
It is a little bit hard to find online. It's not on Amazon Prime. It's not on Netflix.
Yeah, you might have to pay for it somehow.
Yes, I bet you could rent through iTunes. I bet.
Yeah,
it would be so worth it. It's such a gorgeous.
I bought the DVD at Half Price Books. If you guys are in Texas, there's lots of Half Price Books. There's a whole anime section. There's a lot of Miyazaki films. Or
you can just stop by Morgie's house and borrow it. Her address is
no. Hard pass. Yeah. And in the meantime, we're going to hit you with some plugs.
Yes.
You guys can always follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are at B&Bcast. That's BANDBCAST. You can hit us up on our website at bnbcast.wordpress.com.
All the cool kids are liking us right now on WordPress. I'm just going to put that out there. It's like, we're really gaining traction.
We're
and like,
kind of a big deal.
I can tell that like everyone wants to sleep with us, but they're so kind not to ask.
And I don't want to be punished for being well liked.
Yes, hit the floor.
You can please find us on your podcast app of choice, iTunes, Stitcher, all those bad boys. Subscribe to us, rate us, and share us with your friends.
Something you may not know is that the ratings really play into how often we show up on suggested podcasts for other people who might like similar stuff with similar tags. So you may think like, oh, rating doesn't do anything, or like I have to open up a new app to do this. But just for the record, rating matters a lot. It's kind of absurd how much it matters.
And it can be such a burden because you have to go, like in iTunes, you have to go back to search, type in the podcast, and then rate it. You can't do it from the homepage.
I feel that.
But if you could just throw us, just like do us a solid, friends and family. Yeah. And
Morgan
please just
will
rate
give
us.
you sexual favors.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. If you want to follow me personally on Instagram, I am at Morgandolph.
Oh, I've been following you at Dirty Rotten Crank Bitch.
Oh, that's just for friends.
Oh!
Just for close friends and sexual partners.
If you would like to find me on Facebook, I am under Dirty Rotten Crank Bitch.
We should start a page. That's our spinoff podcast.
You can find me on Facebook, Mick Parker, MIC Parker. Don't put no K on it because then you'd be wrong.
Wait, but it is Parker.
Oh, yeah, there's a K in the Parker. There's a K in the Parker, but no K on the Mick.
Yeah.
You know?
MIC.
MIC.
Period.
MIC, CCC. That's all that there is.
I love it. Okay. And then I had a plug for this week. Other things I want you to check out. I, like everyone else in the world, who is watching this, have been watching The Handmaid's Tale, which is a new series. It's a Hulu original, which I'm usually not into Hulu originals, but, this is starring Elizabeth Moss and Alexis Bledel, who are two ladies that are fierce, and I love, capital L. And it is also a book adapted from, it's a show adapted from a book by Margaret Atwood, who is a really excellent author who was introduced to me by our drama teacher that we had in high school, Miss Salazar. And she was really passionate about Margaret Atwood, and it kind of inspired me. I actually never read The Handmaid's Tale, so I didn't read it.
You have to.
Did you read it?
So good.
Oh, you did read it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm 3
You
episodes
especially.
deep into the show, so I might just like continue on this journey, but I'm fucking upset.
It also has beautiful character from Orange is the New Black.
Yes. Samira Wiles. She just got married, and
I love
there was
her.
this really hilarious like shit where like people didn't understand that the other bride she was in the photo with was like her wife, and they were like, squad goals, getting married like with your best friend same day, haha, fantastic.
That's embarrassing.
And the world was like, girl, she's a lesbian and that is her wife.
Right.
And they looked
Squad goals.
so fierce. Did you see their wedding photos? Oh, you have to Google it. Like her wife, who is a writer from Orange is the New Black, gorgeous woman. She wore this beautiful fierce white pantsuit with a cape, and then Samira wore this like beautiful lacy like number dress.
Just
Fabulous. Yeah, she's in that show too, and she's incredible.
Samira plays Poussey, just in case you're not familiar.
In Orange is the New Black.
Yeah,
that is not her name in The Handmaid's Tale.
No.
But same sentiment. She's a
it's very similar.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to watch that. You should read it.
I will.
This week, Morgie, I'm plugging Return to Oz, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Which is have you seen that?
No.
Okay, that is another thing that you have got to see immediately. Okay, so it came out in 1985, so it's got that weird 80s, like, dark influence. And this is very indicative. Dorothy is played by Fairuza Balk from, like, The Craft.
Yes. Oh, shit.
Yes, and she plays a dark, fucked up Dorothy. In the first, I would say, 15 minutes of the film, you see Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, mostly Aunt Em, I think, dropping her off at an insane asylum.
Fair enough.
Yes, because she hasn't been sleeping. She keeps talking about Oz, and they're like, girl, Oz does not exist. She narrowly avoids electroshock therapy, which is kind of the theme of our podcast today. No. And then she goes off to Oz, and that'll happen so near the beginning. The entire story is incredibly dark. To me, the scariest person is Mombi, who is the Wicked Witch of the North I was talking about earlier, who like gives birth or brings Jack Pumpkinhead to life. She is a witch who has like 100 different faces that she can pick from in this like closet. And Dorothy goes in the closet. It's all these like one-dimensional faces. It's horrifying. And depending on her mood, she'll switch out the faces to be happy, sad, or shocked. Horrifying. Yeah. And then there are also these creepy, like, to me, they seem like meth addicts or like tweakers, and they're called wheelers. And they're like the little henchmen of Mombi, this wicked witch, and instead of having arms and legs, they have wheels, and their arms and legs are like hideously elongated, so they like go on these wheels towards you, and they're just so creepy.
Everything you're saying is going to show up in my nightmares tonight.
It is legit nightmare fodder.
Shit,
legit.
Girl.
Yes, but I recommend everyone see it. Return to Oz. It's a cult movie, and it's a must-see if you like The Wizard of Oz.
All right. Well, we're going to link to all of those things in our show notes, so be sure to check that out. And I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be talking about Spirited Away, so make sure you get on the up and up, babies.
All right, babies. We'll see you later.
Bye.
We're drunk.
Bye.
I'm throwing up.
One bottle of wine. Oh, that sounds like legit terrifying.
Oh, that's the sound I make suck a dick.
Oh, God. So uncomfortable.